2000s, I got nicked, got caught with 26 wagons full of ciggies. I was smoking weed at 11, and we'd be sitting there smoking weed, listening to Bob Marley. There was 3 lads surrounded Kevin. I just picked a fire extinguisher up and flew at them with them. He said I could have got it there. I had a lap dancing club in Liverpool. Roy and Joey Parnett used to come up a few times. He's just wound the windows down, bang, hit one of these kids flat out, and I've gone, whoa, can't do that. And he's turned around and go, shh, you go a long way, you. He said, what you've done with us, he went, we'll always remember. He bought me 2 Cartier watches, but in the bag there was 10 grand as well. We want you to come here, we want to speak to you. They'll line you out when you get over there. Got 6 months knocked off because we've been on bail.
So I suppose really you had a touch?
Well, I thought I did until I went to court and hit me with a £14 million fine. I said, I haven't got time for you, Baldrick. I went, I'm going back to me pad, and then it, where the fuck are you on my wing anyway? My name's Jim Padley, I'm the new #1 governor. Oh, no. Crime doesn't pay. It might pay in the short run. It certainly won't in the long run. Watching young people and people coming out of prison have a life after not re-offend. So that's where I get my satisfaction from.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast. My name's Terry Stone, and today we're joined by one of Liverpool's finest. He goes by the name of John Burton. He was John Anslow's business partner. He was a notorious smuggler. Cigarettes, drugs, anything you wanted in the country. He was the man to bring it in. So please put your hands together for Johnny Burton. Woohoo!
Nice to see you, Terry, lad.
I just had to give you a high five there, Johnny. So it's actually quite funny to have you on a podcast because we've obviously known each other for quite a long time.
35 years or something, is it?
I mean, it's mad. And do you know what's funny? This podcast for me, it's been a little bit like Friends Reunited. Because you don't see people for like decades.
Yeah, and then all pop up, innit?
And they pop up and you're like, oh, what have you been doing? Oh, I've been away, or I've you know, I left the country. I've just moved back, or whatever. So
90% of our mates have been in jail, really, haven't they? But yeah, it was. I remember meeting you down here in the early 90s,
right?
With Dave,
right?
Obviously, I met Dave Courtney in the early 90s, and Dave was just one funny man. He just didn't give a shit about nothing, did he? And do you know what? The people we met through him, like yourself and obviously all the old school gangsters and stuff that we were really pretty close with in the end. Yeah. It was just, for us, it was like, we were only sort of young.
Right.
But meeting the likes of Charlie Richardson, Tony Lambriano, lovely guy,
yeah.
Roy Shaw, Joey Pyle. I had most of them in Liverpool. I had a lap dancing club in Liverpool in the 2000s. And Roy and Joey Parnett used to come up a few times. But, you know, these are people you've met through Dave, because Dave was like, he's like a little notebook, isn't he?
Yeah.
Anyone you want to meet, or he can link you up with someone, the man's on it. And you know what?
I think he used to call himself Yellow Pages of the Underworld, didn't he?
Yeah. You'll be like that, letting your fingers do the walking, yeah. But yeah, he was sound, Dave, and you know what? The people he put us in touch with was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was, I tell you what, I remember watching something on Stu's podcast with you. So do you remember that he was talking about the GQA?
Right.
So we were all in Tenerife at the time.
Right.
But we had police helmets.
Right, I remember that.
And
I wasn't there, but I remember seeing the pictures.
Yeah, so there was police helmets and all that, and obviously we were smoking weed and stuff at the time. And I'm in Barbados about 4 months later, and I keep seeing this family pointing over at me, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I'm thinking he's a copper or something.
Right.
So I goes over to him and, can I help you, mate? I said, because you keep pointing your fingers at me, and I just want to know what's going on. He's opened the GQ magazine, and here's me with a spiff of me mouth with a busy helmet on, and me mate Robbie the same, and I've gone, you know, when you're oblivious to what pictures are getting took.
Right.
But when you're right in the middle of that, I just thought, you just don't need
and
that.
I bet everyone in Liverpool going, I told you he was undercover.
Yeah. But it was the most like plastic busy hat you could ever have on, you know what I mean? But it was stuff like that, and we used to go a lot of places with Dave, and like if he was going to Manchester or whatever doing book signings. Right. And I always remember being in Manchester, and some ginger fellas pulled in the multi-story, and he's staring at us, and I went, he doesn't look right, him. And when he's a busy and Dave's going, oh, stop being so paranoid, I went, I'm telling you now, it's something wrong with him. He's not right. So he's in Waterstones doing his signings and stuff. And this ginger fella walks in, and I've looked at Dave and gone, and he's going, nah, he's all right. He's gone up to Dave with a book and said, you couldn't do us a favour. There's an old guy next door to us, Billy, and obviously he lives there. He wants a book signed. He said, could you just sign it to old Bill? And I just went, go out, get out. And honest to God, from that day, we were just like, he was just that copper it all over him.
Right.
And signed the boot to old Billy. Unbelievable, innit?
And what's your, obviously, you know, when Dave obviously took his life, what was your thoughts on that? Because, you know, it was a bit odd because I saw him at a film premiere and I was actually going to get him on the podcast. And and then literally I had the call saying, have you heard about what's happened to Dave? I thought it was just bollocks, you know. I thought, oh, he wouldn't do that. But then
I thought it was a bit moody at first. Like, I thought there must have been more to it. But as well, I'd seen Dave not long before that, a few months before, and I knew he was in pain and stuff. And then obviously seeing his video after, it sort of put a little bit of closure to me. But I always think people are always still going to have in their head that there was something just not right there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the weird thing for me is, you know, if you was going to commit suicide and you put a pillow over your head and then you shot yourself in the head, I'd be worried that
it didn't work.
It didn't work, and I had fucking half my head. And I actually know someone who did that with a shotgun, and they blew their head off, but they still lived. So you know that's not a good way to commit suicide.
It's a bit strange for me, especially because his mum's still alive.
Yeah,
Dave's mum's still alive, and it was a couple of months before Christmas, if I remember rightly. And it just shocked me to think that, one, he loved the bones of his mum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And two, he'd done it just before, not long before Christmas, you know what I mean? But on his video, he did say he'd always wanted to go happy. And I spoke to Brendan a few times. And give Brendan his due, he's been loyal to Dave for God knows how many years.
Yeah.
And we had a good chat about it, and he just said, look, he said he'd just had enough, and he said he'd just do it one day. And I don't think there's ever going to be closure there, Terry.
Well, also, I think for him, he loved being notorious and famous, and
you think about
so going out that way is probably the best way for him because everyone talked about him, right?
But you think about it in a way, right? That all these like podcasts, everything like that. There was one fella who brought all this to the television first. That was Dave,
right?
And I always remember like he used to do audience wids and he used to be on the telly, this, that, and people would go, and he's fucking this, fucking that.
What was his name? Jerry Sadowitz, wasn't he?
Jerry Sadowitz. Well, that was a setup up there with Dave.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So we were on. Dave was doing the Jerry Sadowitz show, and he said, look, just for a laugh, he said, why don't you just come down and fucking have it with us? And obviously Robbie's gone down there, and someone phoned the police. Everyone thought it was us phoning the police, but we just caused chaos in there just to have a laugh about it, really. You know what I mean? But yeah, Robbie was funny. He's game as Robbie.
Right.
I remember Robbie, he's the little boxer Robbie. He was so it was through Robbie I met Dave. He was so he was fighting in East Ham when he was young, Robbie, and Charlie Magri was his trainer.
Yeah.
But he used to stay with Lenny as well.
Right.
So obviously Robbie was sort of with Lenny and stuff at the time, and then that's how we really got to meet Dave in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But I've had some great times down here.
Yeah.
I remember going to like, is it the aquarium, Lou's Aquarium?
Lou's, yeah.
You know, we're in there at like 24 in the middle of a bloody nightclub with a pool in it and stuff.
But you know what? That was the thing. Do not go in the fucking jacuzzi, you know, the swimming pool.
But I'd say that to scousers who were off the cakes on fucking Gary's. You know what I mean? We were all straight in there. Right. So I loved it down here, mate. It was great. And I think what's seen a big difference for me is I think I'm pretty sure we went to Dave's 40th.
Right.
We went there. I don't know whether you were there that night, but Nigel
when
Ben,
was it? When was it?
I think it was in Kevin Jenkins' house.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there. That's when he's with Daniela Westbrook, right?
Yeah, so Nigel Ben was doing he was doing the DJ there, Nige. Barbara Windsor, they were all there. We had a screen with a lot of them, you know what I mean? I was with Kevin when he met Daniela. I think it was in Kensington Park Palace Hotel.
Right.
And I think that's the night he met her in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he ended up staying with her for a while. And I think I was in the aquarium one night with Kevin and a load of the lads. And I'll be honest with you, there was me and Robbie. I think it was probably one of the first nights we'd gone out there. And you were about like big Marcus from Margate.
Yeah.
You know, you seen the size. Yeah, you seen the size of some of these people. And I went, fuck this. I was paranoid. I went to Robbie. I went, this is moody, you know. And then before you know it, all the tablets kicked in. Everyone was looking at each other everywhere. But we just had to scream with them. We got some really, really close mates from it, you know what I mean? And I remember coming back from the toilet and there was 3 lads surrounded Kevin in the bottom of the stairs. And he was ready. I just picked a fire extinguisher up and flew at them with them.
Right.
And from that day onwards, he went, game on you. We went, he said, I could have got it there. I said, you know what, mate, it is what it is. I was like, I'm fucking walking around having cake on them garries. But yeah, that's a really good time down here. And you know what, I respect Dave, and I respect him for the people he put me in touch with and the people we met. Yeah. But also, you know, some of the parties we went to.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went to the Outlaws then. That was just a bloody crazy night. I think that was after something in the Circus Tavern.
Right.
I remember doing something for a fella had a limousine company down here. And we were staying in the Four Seasons Hotel. And I think the first place we were going was to the Circus Tavern. But because I'd done this fella a favour, he said, look, I'll send a car and you can have a driver all night. I went, all right, sound. He's only sends a brand new Rolls Royce. 4 Scousers getting out of a Rolls Royce. And where was it? The Circus Tavern. Right. And someone's gone, oh yeah, these must be all right. And I've gone out, went, what's happening, mate? He went, Scousers in a Rolls Royce. Well, we get everywhere, Scousers.
Yeah, so it's definitely stolen. It's definitely stolen.
Yeah. But we had our own driver, everything. It was just class, but anywhere you go in this world, you'll bump into the Scouser somewhere.
Right.
They're everywhere, aren't they? We're like water, we get in anywhere.
And obviously going back well before you met Dave, and I take it you was born in Liverpool.
Yeah, I was born in Liverpool city centre, yeah. So I was born right in the centre.
Right.
I was born there in 1970.
Wow.
And then 1977, I moved in between Everton and Liverpool's ground.
You red or blue?
Blue.
Right.
Yeah, my dad and my brothers are Reds.
Yeah, no, it's like Manchester, isn't it? Like you're either red or blue, you know what I mean?
Do you know what it was with me? My nan, when I was about 5 or 6 or something, my nan told me anything red and it was danger. So she said, look, see them car signs with a red ring and a line through? She went, they're danger, stay away from them.
Right.
And I ended up supporting Everton. But don't get me wrong, I used to go to watch Liverpool with my dad. Right. And I still go to watch Liverpool with my dad now. It doesn't bother me. I grew up in a house of mixed, but my heart's with Everton. My blood's blue until it comes out and it's oxygen, it goes red, doesn't it?
And when you was growing up in Liverpool, was your family sort of in crime, or was you the sort of black sheep?
No, I was definitely the black sheep.
Right.
I had 2 white brothers with brown hair and me dark skin like a little Asian kid.
Right.
And I always, you know what, I'll be honest with you, Terry, growing up, I always thought I was adopted.
Right.
And I thought when I'm 16, my alpha will probably say, look, and me and my dad didn't get on.
Right.
Because I had the police at the door all the time.
Right.
And I can understand that, you know what I mean? But I think I was 24, my mum died, she was only 43. And from that day onwards, like 28 years, me and my dad have been close. Like my dad now, he's never had another woman. When my mum died, he's just 28 years, he's been on his own.
Wow.
You know, and the shit I've put him through and what the police have put him through because of me, it's not really fair, you know what I mean? The man's worked all his life. And even to this day, Terry, he's still going through it now. And this is what I say about crime. It doesn't pay, mate.
Right.
You know, and when it's got money involved, it'll stick with you for the rest of your life, I'll tell you.
I suppose that's the thing. When you get into it, it's all great, it's all fun, it's fast money, it's this, it's that. But then obviously there's a price to pay, like you said, you know. Yeah. But you have to go through it to realise. And some people are happy to pay the price, but I haven't met anybody yet who said, oh yeah, no, I'm glad I did that. You know, and I'm talking about serious crime. I'm not talking about getting nicked for not paying your poll tax or getting a parking fine.
It's like the stuff we were doing. You know what? I knew at an early age I was going to jail. It was just when, where, and now.
But at what age was that?
11. I was smoking weed at 11. So we used to have like my mate's shed, and we'd have a hatch in it.
Right.
And we'd be sitting there smoking weed, listening to Bob Marley. And at them times, it was like you get an ounce of Rocky. You'd put it in boiling water to soften it and you'd roll it out as thin as you can and you'd just be doing your 10 of weeds, wouldn't you?
Right.
So we were only selling it basically because we were smoking it.
Right.
So like we were just young, just sitting in a shed smoking.
So basically the drug dealing at 11 was just basically to pay for your own gear, basically.
It was like years ago, we were robbing cars at a young age, but when I say robbing cars, we weren't getting in and driving them. It was stereos, car stereos. Everyone was into like Blaupunkt stereos. You'd always get Fords.
Right.
And then you get the face-off ones a little bit later.
Do you know what always made me laugh? Like people went, oh yeah, you get a face-off radio because then they can't steal them. And then people would always put them under the seat. And it's like, as soon as you pop the fucking car, you go straight under the seat. You know where it is.
You knew it was either under the street or in the glove compartment. But that's what we started doing. And it was just basically to get money so we could go and get stoned or... you know, stuff like that. And like where Everton's Liverpool's grounds are, like, obviously we get all the cars there of a daytime, you know, when the matches were on, we just have like miles a car.
Right.
But some people will give you 50p a pound, but if you've got 400, 500, 600 cars on there,
it's a lot of money.
It makes sense, you know what I mean? So at an early age, we were all manning cars. The bigger lads used to control it. And then as you were getting older, you'd sort of control it.
I mean, Liverpool was a fucking mad place. I mean, I thought London was a mad place, but actually talking to Stephen French, Darren G, who've both been on the podcast, and hearing some of their stories and some of their, Liverpool experiences. I mean, it was a crazy place, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And you got to remember that it was an epicenter for the drug trade because a lot of Scousers were all abroad and a lot of people were bringing drugs back into the country. So 9 times out of 10, if you were buying anything, you'd probably go to Liverpool for it anyway, or you'd come down here.
Right, I didn't know that. So Liverpool was basically the
you had
drug
the ports
hub
there, didn't you?
Right.
So in the 70s and stuff, you had ports in Liverpool and docks and stuff like that. Everything used to go through there.
Wow.
Everything used to go through there. And I think of like Seafort docks, Liverpool docks. But God, I remember years and years ago in the 70s and stuff, I remember people bringing tons of Rocky and stuff like that. And because don't forget, Coke really weren't in our country properly. 84, 85, it was with City Boys down here.
Right.
Because it was £100 a gram. £100 in 84, 85 was a lot of money. It was probably late 80s it started sort of coming into the country, and then people started sort of bashing it and getting a little bit more out of it. But it was always like speed, weed, and then obviously come in the 87, 88, 89, didn't it?
And for you, I mean, like you said, when you was 11, you was going to end up in jail.
Yeah.
What was your early sort of? I mean, obviously you said you sold a bit of gear to pay for your own drugs, but when did you actually start getting involved in sort of the next step up? Was it just did you do the whole school thing, or did you just like school?
I didn't really do school. Right. I went to school, you know what I mean, but didn't really do much of it. I went academic. I knew I wasn't going to do anything in school, but hated it.
Right.
If I could sag or stay off or stay away from it or get expelled or whatever, that's what I'd done. I'll tell you where my turning point was. Obviously, I used to work, like when I was 13, I used to get racially abused a lot, mate, when I was a kid, but if you were going fighting, it'd be cough of the party or this, that, the other, and I didn't realise they were all on about me, but I just looked like a little Asian kid.
Right.
And then I was about just 13, 14, like some of the bigger lads on the estate who were 18, 19, 20, took a little shine to me, and I just stuck with them. And I don't think many people sort of started giving you names calling and stuff like that. And I think I like that, Sal.
I think the problem growing up in the 70s, and I was 71, is ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, when you're, if you watch TV back then, it was all joking about people that were different colours and different races, and it was all funny to like poke fun at them. And I think if you're watching it on telly, it's like your parents don't really understand it. And if somebody in your school isn't white, they got terrorised. You know what I mean?
Afghani.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably the driving force of it all. But then when you look back now, see, this is one thing that I always think's ridiculous. Like right now, everyone keeps going on about, white privilege. They talk about how racist the country is and all the rest of it. And you sort of think, if you actually went back to the 70s and lived through the 70s, that you could make that comment. But I genuinely think that as we've gone through the things and as people have been educated, because it's if no one tells you, right, you're ignorant, right? Yeah. You know, you would call an Indian a Pakistani, right, and vice versa, because you wouldn't know what the difference was because no one's told you. And I remember when I was at school, there was an Indian kid, and they used to call him, or whatever, and he actually used to go mad. And I used to say to him, "Why are you getting upset?" And he was like, "Because I'm Indian," right? Yeah. And I'd always be like, "Oh, well, what's the difference?" And he explained it to me, and then I understood what the difference was. Yeah. But the problem was, I genuinely think we were ignorant then. Yeah. We're not ignorant now. But I think if you look at most people now, and when I say most, I say probably the majority. Yeah. Nobody it really is racist. You know, you have racist factions in every religion and every race. Yeah. Right. You have whites that don't like blacks and blacks that don't like whites. but I think the majority of the population
It's
accepts it, and it's
doesn't
no big
matter
thing.
what colour your skin
Nobody
is.
cares.
Yeah, I go
All
back
the
to
same.
like 80s, early 90s, or in mid 90s. You've got people calling all people racial names when they're sitting there smoking weed, listening to Bob Marley with a John Barnes top on, and I just couldn't get my head around that. And I go, but what? Look, yeah, but they're different. I go, well, why are they different?
Do you know what? For me, the turning point for Great Britain when was the rave scene, because that united every colour, every creed, every race,
Just
every
love
religion.
everywhere at first.
Everyone come in, and it's like, yes, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I think that really did break down all the barriers.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
And I think that was the turning point. So, and I don't know why this stuff's started up now, but I think in the early 90s, and when I say the early 90s, I'm talking about 91.
Yeah.
I think the rave scene grew so big
Pinnacle then,
that you had posh people, you had poor people, you had middle class people, you had black people, white people, all in one place, all having a great time.
I remember going to Quadrant Park when I was probably 18, 88, 89. And bearing in mind, you've been to a club before where people get pissed, and then at 20 to 2, okay, ladies, we're going to slow the music down. You go and try and neck an ugly bird on the dance floor to a
Erection
slowy,
section.
And then we've walked into like Quadrant Park, and we've gone in there, and I've gone, what's going on here? I've never, ever, ever seen anything like it.
It was like going into an alternate reality.
It was berserk. You had glow sticks, whistles, people with psychedelic hoodies, and I'm going, what the f-? Well, people are trying to hug you, but when you're like, I'm going, f off. And Scouts is just pushing them away. When you have that, I had the first pill I had was a disco biscuit. I'll be honest with you, it was the best night of my life. And within half an hour, bang, I was bang on that dance floor with them. But you don't realise,
you're doing that big fish, little
I
fish.
can't even remember
box.
what I was doing on there. I just remember coming out with no top on, sweating, and I just thought, what the f*** just happened
Smelling
to
the
me?
Vicks.
Yeah. And then it was like the week later, I wanted to go back.
Right.
And obviously, your mums and dads didn't have 50, 100 quid to give you to go to nightclubs. So just when I got me first, I think it was 200 pills or 150 pills I got.
Right.
It laid on. And for each one I was getting £8 a pill. But we were just happy getting our tablets and having a weekend out. And then when we count the money, like on a Sunday after we'd been sort of out all night and put it away and slept a bit, we've got like a couple of grand over it or whatever we had. And it was like, fucking hell's money in this.
Right.
So next minute, you started getting like 500 tablets, 1,000 tablets, then you get a bag of 10,000 tablets. And I remember going
Was this all from people in Liverpool?
What they buying them?
Not when you was buying them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then obviously there was older lads who were controlling different parts of the city with drugs anyway. But I was always sort of a rocky man buying weed. Wherever you buy your weed from, if you want tablets, you go to them people again and say, look, I'm after these. And obviously disco biscuits, I think, were probably the first ones out. And then you started getting your Snowballs, your Rolexes, your Euros, Love Arts. You just keep going through just different ones.
Do you know
kept getting made.
What I'd never got about ecstasy was I remember like the White Doves and I remember the disco biscuits and all that stuff and the burgers and all this stuff. But what I'd never got was why they had so many different names. There was the apples, there was the oranges, there was the pears.
It was the apples that caused the jail sentences to rise up. And it was 95 and it was Tucker and that in Essex, where Aaliyah Betts died on 95. And
because
that just went jail sentences right through the roof.
Because there's something worth talking about. Obviously, there was a whole thing about her dying on obviously, you know, one of these dodgy pills, as they call them. And obviously, her father he was in the police. Was a police guy. But interesting enough, Bernard Mahoney come on the podcast, and he was telling us about what she happened that night, and he said that she wasn't in the club, but somebody come to the club because they didn't let her in and bought these apples, whatever they are, in the club, and went, and then they took them in her house at like 2 a.m, and you sort of think, you know, it's a bit odd because if my kids were sort of coming at 2 a.m, you'd be going,
what are you doing? Yeah, especially at 18.
It's too fucking late now. It's time to go. So there's always been a mystery around that. And then some people said she drank too much water. But I mean, was there something wrong with those apples?
Well, put it this way: you had one person who died on them. Right. No one else did.
Yeah,
I mean, they were flooded.
Yeah, I mean, but that was because there was a death because of those things.
That was the turning point.
That was the pin. That was the pin.
Yeah.
For the police to say, right, we're putting the jail sentences up.
Yeah.
Right.
And we started getting in towards the ciggies than us.
So
we still had a few years of doing the tablets and stuff like that, but we were bringing them in like pretty big ones, and we were actually making them in Belgium with a press.
Right, wicked. So how many did you get up to?
What, making?
Yeah. No, when you was actually buying them, did you get up to sort of an amount and you went, actually, we should be making them ourselves?
Yeah. I think once you're buying 10, 20,000 of them, see the problem I think with a lot of us, and especially Scousers, we like to get to a source.
Right.
Where you can go and get them yourself. And then obviously you start getting to like Amsterdam's probably one of the first places you'll go to anyway.
Right.
You know where you go into Amsterdam, you only have to sort of speak to people and next minute you're in. And there was a few we used to buy tablets in Amsterdam, but we'd take them to a chemist there. And what he would do, and this was after the apples, he would put them in a machine and we'd give it a printout of everything what was in them.
Wow.
So you'd know what they were before you were sort of purchasing them, you know what I mean? Right. Because later in life, then people throwing ketamine and all kinds of stuff in them.
Right.
And we always used to get ours checked. And I think sometimes we were probably getting up to about 200,000.
Wow.
But they were only cheap. They were a lot cheaper then. When they first come out, they were like 20 quid a tablet, 25 quid a tablet. Probably 95 onwards, you could get them for really, really cheap.
And was there like a mix because lots of people said the early ones were the best.
100%.
But is that because they become immune to it, or was it because they really were the best?
They were the best.
Right, and then people just started fucking about of it to try and make them cheaper.
Yeah, so same as like what you got to look at as a drug dealer is you got to maximise your profits. You know, if you get a kilo of cocaine, first thing, if it's 93 to 96%, you're taking a 9 bar out. But for every 3 kilo you do, you get an extra kilo.
Right.
So then you look at it like that and you mix it with benzocaine. You've just put 9 ounces in 3 key, and then you've just put another 9 ounces in the three corners that you had left. You just made yourself a key. And
benzocaine.
Yeah.
Is that what dentists use?
Yeah. So benzocaine, lidocaine, and novocaine are the same as what dentists use. Yeah.
And what and I mean, is it all from the same family essentially, or is it?
Yeah. It's so caffeine, benzocaine, all stuff like that is all from
anything with cane in it.
Yeah. yeah. But it's like cocaine in the 70s. It was only injectable. Cocaine was made as a paste.
I remember when they used to the original Coca-Cola drinks in 19 whenever it was fucking Coke, wasn't it?
Yeah. And during the war, they used to give our granddads and great granddads opium, cocaine, and cigarettes. And now you ban them all in the country. You know
it is bizarre, isn't it? Why they give them out and then...
but Coca-Cola, it was made with a cocoa plant, weren't it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you just look and you think... But it's like going back to it, every drug dealer's got to maximise the profits.
Right.
And then even like when we were making pills, we weren't just using 100% MDMA because we wanted to take less out of it and we used to put speed and everything in it just to try and top it up with a buzz.
Right.
You know what I mean? And... You know, for that, you'd probably get an extra 10,000 tablets, depending on what mixes and stuff you're using. Right. And that's how you come to maximise your profits.
And did you become like, were you like fucking Dr. John? You sort of...
Do you know what, Terry? I never ever, all I used to do was make them with someone in abroad. I never ever tried to smuggle them in the country.
Yeah, but when you was making them, was it literally you had to buy like a pill pressing thing.
You had to buy a pill press machine, and then you had to get the mix right.
So how does it, because I'm just intrigued how this works. So you get the raw products, so you get like a box of
a
box of space, whatever. And then do you just actually have like a chemist that literally goes a spoon of that?
So it took us about 16 goes.
Right.
Just to get the mixes right, because we wanted to get it where you'd be off your head. So if you use like...
People are definitely going to buy them.
If you use caffeine, speed and MDMA and mix it, if you do it at a 50-50, you're getting a buzz, but not more. If you do it at like a 70-30, you're getting a little bit of a better buzz. And I think like we got the product right at about 80-20.
Right.
But for every 100,000 pills you'd sort of get, that 20% would equate to 20,000 pills extra.
Wow.
So 20,000 pills extra at that time was a little bit more money. Do you know what I mean? So it's about capitalising on, because when you get in that drug game, you want to try and get in, and like for people to buy weed off you, you've got deals have got to be bigger, or something else has got to be bigger, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's like the aesthetics now. You go everywhere in Liverpool now. It started off a long time ago, 200 quid. They're probably like 80 quid to get your lips or something done.
Right.
But everyone sees money in.
You thinking of having your lips done, John? Or
Me?
not?
No chance of you. Oh, do you mean I don't like that, Terry? I said,
honestly, I do despair. Like when you look at like 20-year-olds now,
yeah.
they're all having Botox, or having their lips done, having fillers.
I'm like, I see some of them.
And it's like when you're 35, 40, I get you'd have a little treatment, but some are going hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just think, wow.
I've heard people say put a bit more in so it looks like I've had them done, and you're like, you're walking around like that. I'm thinking, I just don't understand me, but it's the way. It's like
someone sent me a picture the other day. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Pete Burns singer?
I've seen him, yeah.
Someone sent a picture saying, this is what everyone wants to look like now.
But that's like growth hormone as well. We used to take growth hormone when we were taking steroids and stuff, but as you keep taking it, your forehead, your hands, your feet, everything's growing on your bones.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you see look at Sylvester Stallone's mother, or look at Sylvester Stallone. You can see different parts of where their bodies are just growing with it. Like growth hormone was really for small people.
Right.
You know, so like Messi.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi was on growth hormone for years to just get him a bit bigger than what he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So everything's a drug.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like lip fillers that are a drug because you get addicted to them, because once they start going, you want them done again.
Right.
You know, imagine in like 40 years how many coffins you'll see with bones in and two silicons in there, because that's what's going to happen, innit?
But do you know what? There has been a backlash on that. Like I've actually noticed now that a lot of women are either having them reduced or taken out.
Yeah.
Because I think that look is kind of past now.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's like they've gone from having their boobs done to their bums done.
Yeah.
And some of these women with like
that.
massive bums.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I just don't get why anybody would want to have a fat ass. I just don't get it. Just don't get it.
To be honest, it'd be for me, mate. If you've got a small dick, you're fucked, aren't you? You need them an extra 4 inches fucking bigger just to get in there because of the size of half of them. You know what I mean? But,
and obviously you've gone through this, dealing the drugs for fun. Then you start obviously making them like in Holland. How were they brought into the country? Did you literally pay somebody, or is there like a DHL for drugs?
Yeah, there is like that actually. I used stuff like that years ago, but I'd never found a transport to put it on, because that's where your headaches always happen.
Right.
But if you got people buying them on or off you over there, it's just a case of, will you throw us 20 on? So throw us 20,000 on when you get them home, just get them dropped off. No risk for you. It's
right,
risk
okay,
for
so rather than you
else.
actually about.
Yeah, you'd sell them over there
you just
cheaper.
say, I want them, but can you, and what would they do? Like just charge a bit extra?
Yeah, just charge you for the tranny, yeah.
Right.
You give them a little discount on what you were selling them, and they'd sort the tranny out for you, where it'd be like tranny.
And when we talk about tranny, I was going to ask you,
it's transport, yeah. So that's just the Scouse terminology of tranny.
Right.
But yeah, it was just to sort the transport out, and then if they got it home, then your product would
I didn't know if you had RuPaul skating up to your house on roller skates. There you go.
Yeah, it'd be all right, wouldn't
there you go, Johnny.
You wouldn't get stopped on the way. You see them now, they're going around on these little lecky scooters now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going dropping and everything. They're great, them.
I mean, I've seen a massive uptick in them, but they're not even legal, are they?
No, you're supposed to have a driving license. You're supposed to have some sort of license or something for them, haven't you?
Some have been modified,
the
but they've been modified. Some go like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't get on one, because I know I'd probably try and kill myself on it or something. But it's not. Look, if I was at an age of being like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, believe me, I'd be having me and all my mates on them.
Right.
And the thing is, you'd be going around doing what you do. When you're young, you're hungry for money, and you're just trying to work out ways that you can get into something, do something and start earning the money. Right. It's when you get nicked. That's when you're sitting there thinking, shit, what have I done?
When did you first get nicked? Did you get nicked sort of young, or?
Yeah, I got nicked early on in life, but I never got a charge for it. And then I think it was 2000, I got nicked in December 2000. and I got caught with 26 wagons full of ciggies.
So that's
4 containers.
So on the cigarette side, so obviously you was obviously into the sort of drug smuggling stuff, but then what made you then sort of swap it into the cigarettes? Was
the jail time started going up and up and up.
Right.
Now, it's like years ago. If you just shot someone 30 years ago, you'd have walked away with a 12 or a 14. You shoot someone today, you're looking at 30 to 45 years.
Wow.
So I always seen jail. I always said we'd end up like America's prison system. We'll have the same types of prisons, and we'll have sentences creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, because it is a big business, prison, believe it or not.
Right.
It's a punishment, but it's also a big business as well. And I see like the jail sentences just going higher and higher and higher all the time. And then we got involved in the ciggies because it was white collar crime.
Right.
The jail sentences were shit on it, but you know the at the time it was confiscation orders.
Right.
So we started getting into the ciggies and we started hammering it.
And with the cigarettes, were these counterfeit cigarettes
No,
or
duty free?
Oh, so, okay. So basically, it was smuggling cigarettes that were bought, somewhere where there was no tax,
over the abroad,
and then bringing it here, and then I take it when you were selling them, you were making money because you was buying bulk, but it was also tax free. So then you was able to make a
But at that time, you're probably lucky if a sleeve of ciggies was about 20 quid.
Right.
Probably a little bit less.
Good
at the
old
time.
days.
Yeah. You look at ciggies now; they're just astronomical. I think for a sleeve of ciggies, you're going to be probably paying 40 to 60 quid nowadays, aren't you?
Wow.
We were getting them, and for us, it was about like we were turning over a lot of money. But it's like this is what I said to you before about people editing stuff when you go, oh, he was making 3 million quid a week. You don't make 3 million quid a week. Even if you've got the money to buy your product, then you probably make it. But 9 times out of 10, when you're growing up, people see you've got something about you. They'll say, look, I've got a load of this here. I'll give you to them. This is what I want. Right. This is what you can get. So we were turning probably 350 to 450 grand a day cash. Right. In the cigarettes, but it doesn't mean all that money.
He was filing your accounts with the HMRC, weren't you?
oh yeah, definitely. What was HMRC? Well, it was actually the customs that come after us, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because cigarettes obviously is tax evasion, so it's nothing to do with the police.
Right, wow.
So it's custom and excise that when they're coming for you, mate, they're coming for you.
And what happened with the so in 2000? When you obviously sort of thought, well, the jail time's going up for the drugs, so let's move into cigarettes.
We were still doing bits of weed and stuff at the time, and obviously Charlie was coming around and stuff. But you get a key off someone for maybe around 30 grand at the time and sell it for 31. Right. You're making £1,000 or 1,500 quid on something. That's if it's up, you've got a 30 grand debt. Right. You know what I mean? And then the ciggies started coming in like 99 and stuff. And we were only working. I'd met some fella, Scottish guy. It ended up turning out to be a wrong 'un. But he introduced me to the ciggies and I started working for him, just sort of getting slaughters, which is warehouses, getting them packed, getting them emptied, getting them sold, getting the money counted, passing it across. We were all doing that. But he was robbing people. So when we were counting the load, he'd say, right, I'm taking 400 off the bill. I'd go, you can't do that. I can't just tell them it was this. I didn't like it, mate, Terry, because we were getting looked after. You didn't have to rob them because you were earning good money on it.
But he was a greedy cunt. He just wanted more.
Yeah. But he was one of them. He was... I'll go through that in a bit, but he was making a lot more money than anyone was anyway. And we were only on price per sort of container per day. And then he brought 2 people into the country and he didn't pick them up. And he phoned me and went, look, and it's all over the papers. It was all over the stuff when we got nicked. I need you to go and pick the people up from the airport. So I've gone, yeah, all right, oblivious to everything. Didn't know what. Later on, I'd found out what was going on. And I went and picked 2 people up. And these were the people who were basically running it from abroad. And proper lovely people, by the way. And we booked into the Albert Hotel in Manchester. Right. And we got left there for a full 24 hours on our own. He didn't even turn up to come and see them. And basically, long story short, he never turned up with money for them. I ended up taking money out of what we had put away and giving them 50 grand and sending them back to where they were. Apologetic, but it weren't my clients. I didn't really know them.
Right.
And you know what? I had dinner with them. I looked after them. And to me, they were really, really nice, genuine people.
Right.
And then it was a few weeks later, I get a phone call and they went, look, we want you to come here. I went, what for? They went, we want to speak to you. And I've spoke to me mate, Robbie, and I went, what do you reckon? He went, nah. He said, he's been robbing them. He said, if he thinks this is you, he said, they'll line you out when you get over there.
Right.
I said, I understand that. I said, but it could be an opportunity that we take all this. He went, nah, I wouldn't do it, B. And I went, you know what, fuck it. And I jumped on a flight, went over there, and I never forget, right? I'm already paranoid going there. Now, I had a contract phone with me, a little Nokia, and I said to me mate, I went, look, when I know where I'm getting somewhere, I'm going to call you and just leave the call on, just so if anything does happen to me, there's a signal of where I am based at the present, you know what I mean? And he went, you're mad. I went, look, it could be do or die. I said, if we don't do it, it's something that we could have lost out on. So I went over there. I got to the airport and the guys had this code name for me. Big, tall, 6-foot guy. And I've gone, yeah, fine. Couldn't speak a word of English. Gets me in a Merc limousine. And we're driving through this city. And then we pull up by lights. And when we pull up by lights there, you've got like young kids and stuff start washing window screens and stuff like that. Well, shit you not. He's just wound the windows down, like, bang, just hit one of these kids flat out. And I've gone, whoa, can't do that. And he's turning around and go, shh. Oh, shit. So at this time, I'm getting a little bit like, is this the right thing I've done here?
Right.
And then, obviously, we get to where we were going and gets to this massive, massive mansion, castle, like you wouldn't believe. Armed guards inside the gates, goes in and stuff. And at this time, I was shitting myself. I've got to be honest, I was scared of what was, because I didn't know what I was going into. I'm in a foreign country in the middle of nowhere. And I just thought, you know what? It's do or die. Scouser, take it on the chin. It's going to happen, innit? And as soon as we got in there, the people I'd met come running over to me and hugged me and stuff. And I felt really all right. And then, obviously, I didn't know who these people were at the time. And then I've gone in. His wife spoke English. He didn't really speak much English. And I've gone in. They're all made up, chatting, blah, blah, blah. So we goes out for dinner and we goes... we had us in the middle. You had X5s not long being out. You had one at the front, one at the back, tailing us right the way through to this restaurant. And I didn't realise who this guy was until we got to that restaurant. I shit you not, when we walked in that restaurant, the whole restaurant stopped and everyone stood up. And I've gone to his missus, I've gone, the fuck's he? I'll tell you later. And then he was all like, football players coming over, and it was just berserk to be around this guy. But and I wouldn't mind. He probably wasn't 5 foot.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He was only a small fella. But in the end, I used to call him Papa, and he called me son because he was that good with me, and we were loyal to him. And you know, there's times when they didn't turn up for 4 weeks, and we had suitcases and suitcases full of cash. But you could have robbed them, but what are you going to get out of it? They'll catch up with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I respected him. And he knew the other fella was robbing him. You know what I mean? And he's asked me a blatant question. He went, look, I know what I sent over. I went, look, that's your problem with him. I said, but as far as I'm concerned, I went, he's a wrong un. I went, and I can't give you a count because he's the one who takes the count. I said, so you just deal whatever you got to deal with him. And then I was going home the next day. And, well, I was there for 3 days. The next day, I wakes up in the house and they come and rush me at about 8 o'clock in the morning, throws me in the back of an X5, kept my head down and takes me straight through to this big hotel about 20 minutes away. I was there for 3 days on my own. I was in the presidential suite. The manager come over to me when I got there. He went, look, everything's paid for, whatever you want. He said, there's been a little bit of trouble there, just stay in here. So 3 days, I was in this presidential suite. I was like, shit, are these coming back or what?
I'm going to call you El Presidente now.
Yeah, but it's funny because you got nothing else to do other than boredom. So the shenanigans there was just chaos. And I was on my own, and this poor manager down there, he used to think, he must be mental, him. And then they'd come back, see me. We'd arranged to sort of get all the products and everything. And I went, well, look, I said, while all these are coming in, I said, and we're starting to make money, I said, can I put money back into, you know, start working with you and start making more money out of it and getting us sorted with the lads? And they were all up for it. And On the way out the hotel, he takes me into the Cartier shop.
Right.
And he says, pick what you want. I went, look, I don't want nothing. I said, I'm not here to take your money. I went, I'm here to do business, get whatever product I need home and just do the job that way. And little I never thought nothing of it. Gets in the car. Next minute he comes out, he gives me a bag. So he bought me 2 Cartier watches, one for me and one for my wife at the time.
Wow. Lovely.
But in the bag there was 10 grand as well. And I said, you don't have to do that, mate. He went, no. He said, look, you go a long way, you. He said, what you've done with us, he went, we'll always remember. And then I started then doing the ciggies on my own then.
And what did Air Jock friend think of that? Did he find out?
He was already missing on loads of stuff anyway. But let me tell you now, to the end of it, that day he sent me to that airport, he set me up.
Right.
So he set me up picking them people up.
So they could get pictures or whatever.
Yeah. So and we'd only got 6 months, a good 6 months going forward out of the ciggies. And this is where I say, like, yeah, we was turning over large amounts of cash every week.
Yeah.
But you had to pay people. You had to pay people for stuff to come in the country, in and out the country without anyone seeing it. Then you have to pay people who are unloading. You have to pay transport. You have to pay cover. 3-piece suite had couches like these, just full with cigarettes. So it was all like stuff they had to spend out with.
But it sounds better if you say, I used to make $3 million a week.
Yeah, I know, but that's not really good to kids today because they think, and especially police and stuff, they think,
I love that.
He must have been earning £3 million a week. No, I might have been turning it over. It doesn't mean I was making it.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, we were making money to put back into what we got caught with. So we'd done all that. We were turning. I remember the first night I'd done my first load in Barnsley, it was. And it was Benson and Edges. You can't sell them up north. They've got to be sent down south.
Right.
So they've got to be sent down a little bit cheaper.
Right.
And I think there was about just short of 400 grand. But fuck me, have you ever tried counting that in a hotel room on your own? I was there for about 8 hours.
Right.
Just counting, and I thought, so the next day I invested in money machines.
I was saying, the annoying thing is you like count it all up and you think, have I missed it? Have I fucking...
Well, I used to think, all my money was always straight, headed up, different denominations,
right.
Elasticated in a proper way, and they used to love how my money used to turn up.
Right.
And then we invested in a couple of pay machines. Then you've probably seen it in loads of like films now where you've got women counting money in like short hot pants and bras.
Was that what you did?
That's
you had
what
all...
we had to, yeah.
Right.
Because we were
Was that you chose the uniform for the girls, yeah?
Yeah, I had a lap dancing club at the time as well, Terry, yeah.
You said we want a bit of extra money.
Yeah, go over there, yeah. But we just had a few girls who we knew.
Right.
And look, you don't know whether you know them or what. They'll still try and bump you and have you off. And we caught a few at it. Right. They were earning good money, you know what I mean? But when you're getting 100, 200 grand dropped off, like I just used to have two punters or one punter will come up and buy the whole load. So if he was buying the whole load, he'd probably be giving you 350, 400 grand. If he was buying half a load.
What was they doing with it? Was they like just putting them in at supermarkets, corner shops?
They just sell them out to customers. So
so they actually had people, literally whoever.
Yeah, so don't forget I was doing Scotland, Newcastle, Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham, London, obviously, because it was down here with them how many times. Down here, I could only sell Marlboro and Benson and Edges.
Right.
Up north, it was always Super King Blue, Super King Black, Regal King Size, Embassy No. 1, Sovereign. So these were all the sorts of stuff you could sell up north.
Right.
And we'd been selling them now for a good couple of months, and I built a good little kitty up. So I'd gone back over to see them, and we'd explain what we wanted, paid the money, and then we had 26 wagons, and they were due to have 30 to 32,000 sleeves in. Right. And we had 4 containers. So on the first 5 in were all Benson and Marlboro.
Right.
So they all had to go down south. And on the 6th one, with the operation, we all got nicked on the operation. So all the money that we sort of did make and we put into it sort of just basically went down the drain, really, because we just wanted to capitalise.
Did the people, where were they from?
I don't really want to say.
Oh, but they was overseas. But did they get nicked as well?
No, I kept them out.
Oh, right, amazing.
I kept them out because when they come back over, I'd seen something was going on, and I just went, look, you can't get on this plane going home. Right. And basically, I sent them to the different place and got them over the water, and they had to sort of travel by car.
Right.
And I kept them out. I want them to go to jail. They were nice people.
And when they nicked you for that, what did they nick you for? Was it just for?
Yeah, so it's tax evasion.
Right.
So tax evasion for smuggling cigarettes into the country, and I think it worked out that 1.2. You know, the sleeves 200, so they caught us with 1.2 million of them.
Right.
So if you times that by 20, basically that's your number you've been caught with. And that's what it's like now. If you get caught with a kilo of cocaine, they don't give a shit whether it's you pay 25, 30, 40 grand for it. They put it down as £100 a gram to street level. So then that's why they put them down with the ciggies. They always try and make it a lot higher than what it basically is. But if we'd have come through there, we'd have got a lot of money out of it. But you know, it's sod's law, and you're in the game. You want to try and put money back into it to work with them and get the money back out, so you can legitimize yourselves and get out of it. But it's just really hard, isn't it?
And what did you get when you went to court?
So I got arrested on December the 14th, 2000, with 26 wagons. Well, 21 wagons, 5 got through, but they'd watched them all anyway.
Right.
16 of them were still in Europe.
Right.
And they were all in water boilers, 3-piece suites, reels of cotton, you know, big thick reels with. They were all in different sort of smother, and because they caught them all right the way through, because they were all going to certain addresses, they just put all them down to me.
Right.
So them 26 wagons, even though they were mine, it's coming to us, they just attributed them straight away to me.
Right.
So gets it into the court and stuff like that, and I remember going. It took them 3.5 years to sentence me, by the way. Now, 3.5 years because, look, we were banged to rights. The main thing for me when I got nicked is I'd just been on the phone to them. And when I was in the gym and the customs officers have come in, and as they've caught for me, they've got hold of my phones. I thought, I need to get these phones and get that chip. Right. So I've got up, pushed one of them and pulled my phones. I've run out, stripped me Nokia and swallowed my chip and through the phone. So they've only got one phone, which was a tribute to me, which was it was a contract number anyway.
Right.
But I'd just been on the phone, and the main thing for me was getting that number and getting that phone away from what they could get out of it, which I'd done. And I was trying to have it with the customs. Now, the police, they have to phone the police to come in and arrest me. When the police come in, he went, look, mate, he went, fuck these. He went, do you want to walk with us? And they walked me to the car unhandcuffed and everything. Because the customs have more power than the police, don't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, the customs and excise have more power than the police, and I don't think the police really like it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there was always this like stuff going on with them, but the plots were all right with me. Took me in, charged me, and let me out the next day on bail. And I never forget it. I'd had money stashed at home, and I thought, you know, when you're sitting in a cell, and I think it was about 70 grand or something, but I had it in a stash that if you just pop your head down, you'd see it, but if you didn't see it to the naked eye, you wouldn't see it. And all while I was nicked, that's all I was thinking about was they've got me dough. They've got me dough. And then they've let me out the next day, gone home, and I've looked and I went, fuck, still there. So I was quite happy about that.
Right.
And then while we were going to court, I always remember this Scottish fella. He kept going, I can't go to jail. I can't do jail. How am I going to do this? I can't do jail. And then on the day of play...
Did he get nicked as well?
Yeah, he was nicked. There was an Asian guy nicked with us. He was all right, the Asian guy, give him his due. He was just a little sort of Joey for him. But really nice guy. And to this day, I'll always stand up and say, you know what, he was all right. The Scottish fella, he was a fucking wrong 'un. It turns out how much. And I said to me mate, I went, you know what, I went, something's not right here. And I said to me barrister, I went, we back in court the year after, I said to me barrister, do me a favour, get in there and put a PII on him, which is like, it's public information, innit? So they've got to tell you if he's a grass. Right. They let him off, they let him out free of charge, him and the Asian guy. So they dropped all charges on him. Bearing in mind, I had 2 phone calls to a freight company. They had 156 between them. And I just went, nah. And I said to me barrister, I went, how do I find out what they've been up to? He said, you can go in and ask to see if they've been involved in any other cigarette cases. Come out 7 of them. And I always remember a guy from...
So he was a professional wrong'un, basically?
Yeah, so I think it's called like Asian provocateur,
right.
Where he'll work and earn his money, but he'll put people into the customs along his way. So basically he's a fucking grass.
Right. But he lines people up to get nicked.
Yeah.
Right, good.
And then I always remember a guy, old fella George, really, really nice guy. And this Scottish fella used to say, you know, he's one of my really close mates. He done to him what he did to us. And George was dropping money off one day. And he said, look, I'm stuck. Can you meet a person at the airport? So exactly. And I'm reading this thinking, you fucking wrongin'. And then obviously we ended up in 2003, 3.5 years later, I got 4 years. Right. But then I got 6 months knocked off because we'd been on bail. Right. So I was eligible for a tag. So I'd done 17 months, I think, in jail.
So I suppose really you had a touch.
Yeah, I had the right touch, yeah. Well, I thought I did until I went to court and hit me with a £14 million fine. Right. So my confiscation order. So what they said, they attributed all of it and said, you've evaded duty by 14 million. I went, how the fuck have I done that? He went, well, you haven't paid your tax on your cigarettes. Now, I'm hearing them talking about this, and I said to the judge, Your Honour, can you explain something to me? I said, because I don't understand. What do you mean, tax evasion? He says, well, what it is, Mr. Burton, he says, when you bring something into this country, he said, and it's illegal and you haven't paid the tax, that's called tax evasion. I said, but if it doesn't come into the country, he said, well, you can't be charged. I went, okay, because there was 16 wagons still in Europe. How can I be done for them? As soon as I seen that, I seen the prosecutor's face bubbling, and the judge went, oh, that's an idea. Could you knock them 16 off his proceeds of crime? Right. And then obviously I had the lap dancing club, sunbed shops, stuff that I could put money through and just try and legitimise myself. Right. It's too hard to legitimise yourself. It weren't in them days. Nowadays, you're fucked. Right. You can't really spend that much cash anymore, can you? Right. And I'm trying to legitimise stuff and sort of get myself out of it all. And then, do you know what? I ended up getting it down. They hit me with £1 million, seized all my assets, my houses, everything, just swiped everything off us. I still had a bit of cash left for when I got out, and I only done 17 months, but I was angry going to jail.
I can imagine.
And I was angry because I'd had everything sort of took off me and overestimated figures that properties were worth, that they sold them for like half the price of what they put on the bill. Right. But you, when you're fighting with the police, if a corrupt copper stands up in a court and goes, I believe, the judge is going to believe him. If you stand up in court and go, I believe, you're not going to believe you, are they? Right. So they'll always take other people's sides. Right. And then he ended up with that. Took all my assets, paid all the money on that. I'd done 17.5 months, but I'd been in jail with big drug dealers and stuff like that. But because I'd been turning over so much money, you get a lot of people wanting to work with you because they know you're going to sort whatever you've got to do out. Right. And then I got out in 2005, and I just got straight back into it. Started getting into Spain and stuff, doing weed, Charlie. Same old. I just wanted my money back, you know what I mean? And you know what? We got to start getting me money up. But what people have got to understand in the drug game is the bigger you go, the harder you'll fall. Right. So if you've just got yourself £500,000 worth of weed and you've got it coming over, if it goes down, mate, you're £500,000 down. And if it's not yours, you're in a bit of shit then, aren't you? Right. Because you've got a bill to pay. So what you do, you start again and then you go down again and stuff. So this is what I always say to people about dealing drugs. Everyone starts off, like I started off with £10 weeds. You know what I mean? Started off with tablets, speed making tablets, right. Bashing coke, getting coke, and to me everything was just going up and up and up. Right. But it's when you give that out to people, you go and give someone a kilo of coke and they go up the road and get bumped with it, then you're 30 odd grand down. But then that's when the phone calls start then, and the threats start, and the people's houses start, and the guns start, and this is where it just transpires into the vicious circle, doesn't it? And for me, everything was going fine. You'd had a loss, you're back to normal. And it was just getting like that all the time because you were working with people. Like I was with Johnny Skits at the time, and we were getting weed in from Spain into the country and sort of throwing it around everywhere. But it's hard getting gear into the country. It's even harder when you've got to give it out to dickheads who just think they can get it on tick, go and buy a shitload of clothes with what they think's profit, and then don't get all the money in to pay you. And then that's where all the shit hits the fan. Right. I'll be honest with you, best time of my life is being away from all that. Right. Because it's a life of paranoia. It's a life of misery. You know, look at me, I destroyed all my family. I got nicked in 2011. My dad, my cousins, you know, my family, they didn't have nothing to do with it. But they do that to try and put you in a situation where I'd come out and seen people's name on a board. I was in a cell and come out the next day and there's like my bird's name there, there's my family's name. I go, what are all them? He went, oh, they're all in cells around the corner. I went, f off, mate. He went, no, they're all in cells. I went, look, get your arresting officers, get me solicitor. I said, get them up here now. I said, whatever they've got here, I said, I'll plead to. So they come up and they showed me loads of charges and stuff. I went, look, main thing is, I went, look, I've seen your evidence. I'll admit to them there. I said, see these here, I've got f all to do with me. I said, so you want to do a deal now, I'll do it on them charges. I said, but on the understanding, they get out of here today. I said, because not one of them have got anything to do with my life whatsoever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I got my dad into trouble because when I got out in 2005, trying to get a bank account or anything like that with money laundering and tax evasion on your record is difficult. So anytime I needed something, I'd say to my dad and go, yeah, just use my cards and just give me the money. They nicked him for that.
Wow.
Now, if you've got a son who's come out of jail like that and he needs to say, I'm getting sorted, want to get straight. If he come to you as his dad, you would help him.
Absolutely.
You know, you wouldn't think he was still up to anything, but you would help him. That's what parents are there for.
Right.
Well, my dad's had to pay the price for that. Even to this day, you know, he ended up with a proceeds of crime, my dad. And 6 months ago, they've stopped his money again.
Wow.
This is 14 years ago. It never goes. It never leaves you.
Right.
You know, crime doesn't pay. It might pay in the short run, but it certainly won't in the long run. You know, and the bigger you go at it, the harder you fall at it.
And when you was obviously doing all this stuff in Liverpool, leading up to when you started doing the cigarettes, did you come across like Stephen French and Darren G and people like that? Or
Stephen was a bit older than me. He was from sort of down here, Toxteth way, Stephen.
Right.
But do you know what? I've known Stephen for a long time, and I've met him a good few times, and he's always been a gentleman to me.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I like Stephen. I think he's a really nice guy. Obviously, if you got on the wrong side of him years ago, mate, he'd fucking terrify you.
Yeah.
And that's what he was. You know, but I've met him. I was in jail with him in 2012 in Welton. And do you know what? The man was a gentleman.
Yeah.
And I take my hat off to Stephen, because all these people who say you're a grass this, you're a grass that, before you call anyone a grass, have the fucking proof on paper.
Yeah.
Because that's all I hear of people now.
Well,
He's a fucking grass him. He's just got out someone's just got out after doing 16 years. And they go, watch him, John, he's a grass one. How can he be a fucking grass? He's just saved 16 fucking years. I'm not talking about Stephen, by the way.
Right.
But other people are getting out after doing long sentences.
Stephen come on here.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed talking to him. I thought he had some great stories.
He's got some brilliant stories, and he was a fucking animal.
Right.
But you know what? I think he's one of the most nicest guys. And I remember getting my car. I had a brand new BMW X5 in 2007, and it was the first one in Liverpool, new shape. And Stephen was in BM that day, and he come over to me, shook me hands, and he was really nice. Right. And I always remember him, and even meeting him a few times along the way. He's always been a gentleman, Stephen, to me. And it's all this like old school. We know a lot of people. Right. It's all the younger kids. Every 10, 15 years, you get a new breed of criminal. Right. You know, years ago, we were brought up never to crash on people and don't rob people's houses. Now it's just norm, innit?
Yeah, cross everybody and rob the houses.
That's what they do, yeah.
And what about Darren G? Did you meet him?
No, I know. Do you know what? I never really crossed paths with Darren. More Stephen, Danny, Ian, Billy. I think Darren was a bit younger than me. Didn't really cross paths with Darren. Right. But obviously I had the street they used to live in. That's where my sunbed shop was in Walton Breck Road. And they were all Santa's kids. Yeah. You know, but it's like now in Liverpool, there's people who have been lunatics when they've been young. Right. But it's part of how you grow up around there and how you're raised.
Is Liverpool still a crazy place, or has it calmed down a bit?
Do you know what? You'll probably get some areas that are still the same, you know what I mean? But Liverpool's a different city now than what it was years ago. It's an amazing city now. The amount of work that's going on.
Still not been.
Haven't you?
No, never
come
been.
Up, you know.
Never been.
Yeah, you'll have to come up. Come up now, take it on a little night out down there. But you love Liverpool. There's some great hotels. And this is what I say about everyone who's about racist. Like, imagine being an Indian or a Pakistani guy coming into our country and going eating steak pie and chips or scampi chips and peas. It's a fucking good job all these people did come in, because we've got a different array of different foods now.
Otherwise, we've all been just having scampi chips.
But remember, you'd be like Indian guys, come on, let's go to the English and have some steak, pie, chips and peas, blood. It just wouldn't happen, would it? You know what I mean? And this is what I say, I'm all for diversity, and I'm all, you know, I work with a lot of BAME communities, diversity communities now, and, you know, my life's dedicated to helping people who are in prison. And,
amazing.
You know, if I wouldn't have gone through what I'd gone through all them times and all the time being in prison, being in the Cat A units, like my last of my sentence, I was shipped to the Isle of Sheppey.
Right.
So watching my 2 children traveling 19 hours on a round trip to get there broke my fucking heart, and I went, I'm not doing this. And this was the police putting blockers and obstacles every single way I went. And you know what? Fair play to them, because they fucking changed me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? If it had probably been left in Liverpool or something else, I probably wouldn't have sort of changed. But because they had that many restrictions on me and sent me to the Isle of Sheppey, I just thought, I'm not putting my dad or my family or anyone through this ever again. And there's got to be a way that I can get away from this life, turn me back on it and never get back to it, because it's a life of misery. It's a life of paranoia. It's a life where you're going to bring a lot of shit to your family. You're going to bring money problems. You know, your family then, they do the prison sentence with you, because they've got to travel all over the country. Like every time my dad and the 2 kids come to see me in the Isle of Sheppey, that was 500 quid.
It's mad, isn't it?
You know, you've got to get a train from Liverpool to Euston, round to St Pancras, an hour up to Sittingbourne. Then you've got to get a taxi from there, 25 minutes up to the Isle of Sheppey. I have to do that every 2 or 3 weeks. I went, fuck this. There's got to be more to life than being involved in crime.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously you've had this bit of bird 4 years, but you had 6 months knocked off.
Yeah, that was in 2000.
When you went to jail, the first time you went into jail, what was it like? I mean, because I know when you was 7, you said, or no, 11.
11, yeah.
You said, I'm going to end up in jail. But
do you know what? My first prison when I went into was Walton. And then when you come through the reception at Walton, you have to walk through B Wing. B Wing was like the remand wing. I think the first 2 lands, and you could probably count about 16 teeth between the whole lot on there. But when you walk straight into prison, B Wing, it's 5 landings, but one the underneath the block, so that's covered. So it's 4 landings, and if you walk in there when it's like when people are out of the cells, it's dawn, you got people hey scouting. But I knew a lot of people in there,
right?
You know what I mean? So for me, you know, me and my mates, we were a bit of an handful. You know, we weren't going around shooting everyone, but we could all fight,
right?
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we were game. We would have a fight with people, and it didn't bother us. All our mates were like, we were all on the juice. We were all 15, 16, 17 stone. We all built like fucking lunatics. Half of them were boxers, half of them were fighters. So we could handle ourselves. And I knew a lot of people in there anyway.
So it was probably like home from home, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that was going in there in like, because it was white collar crime, I was only in there a couple of months, and then I got moved to open conditions.
Right.
So straight away I went, it's like Butlins here.
Right.
I was in Kirkham at the time. And gets out from that, and then gets me bigger sentence in 2011. But for the first like few months in, gets nicked in first couple of months in 2011 for obviously for the
so when you come out, when you first went to jail, what year was that? That was
I went in 2003 and come out in 2005.
Right, okay. And then when you come out, were you like, I'm a changed character, or did you just go straight back at it?
Straight back into it.
Right, okay.
I knew what I was going straight back into. I wanted my money back, and I always wanted to legitimise myself and have property and stuff like that, and they took it all.
Right.
I was fucking angry. I went, you just can fuck off. I'm getting back out, and I want my money back, and I want to start getting my money back and getting me properties. And I just wanted to get my kids. What I'd done it for as well, Terry, and what my kids growing up the way I did.
Right.
You know, I grew up, it was different then, but I didn't want them getting involved in crime and stuff like that. So I moved to a better area, put them in a better school. Everyone didn't know what I was doing. You know, I had businesses and stuff anyway, so I was covering me, you know what I mean, as well as like doing the graft on the other side. And I ended up buying a big house. I always had stupid cars, watches, nice clothes. And it was like, you know what? You look at it now, it was like, look at that kid. And like now I'm out the game and I help people. Young kids aspire to be like me, with like that. And I went, why the fuck would I let people want to be like me? But when you're in that game, you don't care.
Right.
It's when you're out of it in Like kids are going, oh, look at his Bentley, or look at his
Listen,
car.
go to Tesco's and buy F&F, wear that, and you'll be all right.
And I say to the kids now, and I do a lot of motivational speaking now in prisons, universities, schools, colleges, big events and stuff like that, and all about sort of getting people into work. But, I wouldn't do that if it didn't bring me to that life. I wouldn't do it. But if people ask me now about crime, I'll say, look, think of it this way. Get out of it. Like, you're getting kids getting nicked now with county lines who were just doing it to buy trainees and smoke weed.
It's mad.
And then they're getting 6 years stuck up their arse. And I go, how much did you earn? He went, I've got no money. I said, well, how much did you earn while you were out? Oh, probably about $4,000. Now, I have...
Shit day rate.
Yeah. And then I know people that have been out there and gone and had a touch for 25 grand. But then 6 months later, they've been involved in a conspiracy. And then I go, so have you got money left? I go, no, I've got nothing left. So what about your birds? You're fucking struggling, John. And this is where I educate people and say about crime. It doesn't pay. It's not going to pay. You might be a lucky one. Very lucky in this day and age. You'd be lucky. Like I work a lot with like police now with county line kids. And they bring kids to me now and say, look, can you do anything? And I'll go, yeah, I'll do something with them. I said, but I'm not spending a load of funds and putting them through a load of training and putting them in a job for you to fucking put them in jail. Right. I said, if I do that for them, no further action, I'll look at it. Yeah, and you know what? Give them the due. Thing with the police is when you're in a criminal world, they're your fucking enemy. And they're there all the time. When you come out of that criminal world, you don't see them. And the stuff like what they bring to me with kids... I've worked with a few now who I've said, put your money where your mouth is. I help this kid and get him into work. You get him off with his charges. That's got to be a must. And they do. Because some of these kids are just getting groomed and exploited. Yeah. So someone goes up, like when I was young, someone give me 30 quid and says, yeah, just go and get it. I said, don't want it. I said, no, just go and get something. And then I'd be in town, they'd take me in, get me trackies, trainees. But they're your mates. And everyone said, you got groomed as a kid. Well, I never got fucking groomed, and don't blame them lads for trying to groom me because it was me who pestered them to do some work with them. I used to go on my rally burner and just have a little bits and bobs I used to deliver to people. Right. But I would never blame them for it. Not in a million
You've got a choice, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah, that choice is yours. But I enjoyed the lads. I enjoyed being around them. It's like before. Do you know what my nickname, my mum's side of the family, my nickname was Packy John.
Right.
And my uncles used to call me Packy John. So that's how I get.
Don't worry, we're not going to put that on the podcast.
No, don't do that. No, I would love what I said.
This week's guest on the Criminal Connection podcast.
That's the sort of it was years ago. You know what I mean? And for me, like I didn't like getting called that.
Right.
But no matter where I went, everywhere I went, it was even if you'd having an argument with someone, I didn't like it. And when I was hanging around with the older lads, it stopped. And for me, I felt good about that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And and later on in life, I've done a DNA test. Believe me, mate. I've found I've got relatives now. We were in Pakistan.
Right.
So I have got Asian blood in me, and I'm proud of it. I've looked into my great granddad, and my great granddad was a seaman.
Right.
And obviously he had a mosque in Liverpool, which is now a massive mosque.
Wow.
I've got paychecks from him in November. I'll show you after this. November 1945. Every 2 weeks, my great-granddad was getting $2,500 off the government of England because he was bringing a lot of people from India, and it was India at the time.
Right.
47 or 48, it changed, didn't it? Right. Mountbatten changed it. But my great-granddad was responsible for bringing hundreds of thousands of Indians to our country.
Right.
And he was bringing food. He was bringing spices because we had rations in this country at the time.
Wow.
And the stuff I've looked into by doing my own DNA and family history is second to none.
Amazing.
I've been going up to Bradford to see my family, getting the best curries you will ever believe. And I always knew something was there. I remember going up to Bradford in 1985, 86. Like my mum's family, the name's a Sultan. So it's a definite name. And I remember going up to Bradford, and I was only a kid. But to me, these were all like Indians and Pakistanis, and I kicked off, mate. Right. And my mum was going, you can't do that. I didn't want curry, I wanted bacon. You wouldn't do me, But it was a different world for me. And then I've met all my family now who were kids when we were up there. Right. And do you know what? They're lovely people. Like we've got some amazing people in Liverpool, got some bad. Manchester, brilliant, got some bad. Everywhere you go, you're going to have some brilliant people, but you'll always have bad. Same with Muslims.
Yeah.
But people target different things. Not everyone's bad in this world. Like, it's like us being in prison. I say to people now, it doesn't make me a bad person because I've been to prison most of my life. It just made I've done some silly things that have put me there. There's people in prison now that should have the keys turned and thrown away. I totally agree with that. But there's a lot of people in that prison system now who just need the arm around their shoulder and guide them to a path where they can get into a job and get away from all this.
Right.
You know, because like police said to me the other week, he went, we don't need grasses no more. We've got phones. Phones are like just human grasses. Everything is in there that no matter if you take your SIM out, turn it off or what, you plug it in a Google Analytica and it's telling you everywhere you've been. I've got a video on my phone, I'll send you that after here. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe what's on that video about him taking batteries, SIMs out, turning them off, travelling for 7 days, plugging them in, told you everywhere he's been.
Wow.
You never get away with them. And you've got these young kids now with an iPhone in that pocket and a graph phone in this pocket.
Right.
So everywhere they go, the same mask picked them up. And they say, well, I haven't had them. Look at the Encros. Look how many people have been caught on the Encros. But have you read some of the stuff that's on them? I would never dream of putting stuff on Encros.
A friend of mine's...
I never trust technology.
A friend of mine's a criminal lawyer, and he said that because the criminals that were using them thought that they were unreadable, unbreakable, whatever, they were literally just saying,
oh, yeah,
go and kill him, there's his address, go and pick up that money, it's for this, that, and literally just sending texts that were literally just grassing themselves up, like basically saying, yeah, it was me.
I've been reading some of them now, and it's like when they're finding phones. It's like me and you now. If we've got EncroChat phones, I wouldn't put you in my phone as Terry Stone, would I? But that's what they've done.
Wow.
And there's people's real names under their handle names. You know, like when we used PGPs years ago, which were the Blackberries.
Right.
But like all 10 of us who were using them, like my nickname was Blondie.
What's PGP?
So PGP was like an Encro.
Right.
It was more like when you sent that message and you read that message, it'd disappear.
Right.
Where theirs didn't.
Right.
Now, I was Blondie because if I had a nickname Blondie and I was dark skinned with a skinhead, the first thing you'd say, well, it's not Blondie.
Right.
So we always changed stuff around. We said, never put postcodes, never put places. We all know who's who. We all know what we're working on. Keep it at that. I think one of the best ways I used to sort of get communication to people was we email addresses.
A carrier pigeon.
Yeah. But like, you know, email address.
Right.
So I used to I would open an email account. You'd be abroad, I'd give you my password. So I would type an email out and leave it in drafts. And then you would go on, read my drafts and then delete it. Now, because it's left in draft, it doesn't stay in your inbox or outbox. It doesn't save. You just delete. And that was the best way. We always used it. And then Blackberries come out. We were using them. And then obviously you started getting like phones for like 1,500 quid a grand, stuff like that. But some of the stuff I see on them now, like people tops and bottoms. Terry, we were calling, so your tops are basically, you had white and brown and your tops and bottoms. We were calling them that in the late 90s. You know, and there's people getting nicked today, still calling them tops and bottoms. The police know what tops and bottoms are. You know what I mean? They've been out there long enough, but them phones have just wiped a whole generation of people who have been in the game for a long time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? If you look at the sentences.
Thing is, though, if you look at it now, right, if you'd have committed a crime 30 years ago, there was no cell site technology, there was no number plate recognition, the DNA probably wasn't as good.
No. Fingerprints basically.
There was no CCTV. There were so many things that weren't around that are now.
Yeah.
And I actually thought the other day, if you decided you wanted to be a criminal now, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get caught. Because there's no way 100%. That you can do stuff and
getting away with it. Look, there's only one way if you're getting away with it. Well, there's two ways actually. One, if you're very, very lucky, and two, if you're a snitch.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but you know I always get people like, lad, how come he's never been? Everyone knows he's been selling drugs since like 25 years. He's never been nicked. He's never been to jail. He's a grass. Well, you can't call him a grass. You can assumption as a grass, but until you get it on paperwork, you can't really label anyone that.
Right.
But I would say to anyone going into this world of criminality, do what you do. Think about it. Go and earn your money in a job.
If you can, I've always had this view, right? If you could make money being a criminal, you can definitely make money not being a criminal.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, well, why would you just not be a criminal?
Transferable skills.
Yeah.
So everything I done, I networked all over the world, mate, and I networked with criminals all over the world. You know, very, very high people all over the world. Why can't I do that in a normal world with CEOs, MDs, directors, stuff like that? They're the ones you need to sort of be involved with. And for me now, because obviously I've got a total different life, we'll talk about it in a bit, because I've got a really good backstory and no one can really tell me, like I can go to the prison and I do talks in prisons. There's not many people in there can tell me anything because I've been there, seen it, done it. But I've been there, seen it, done it, and I've been at the top and I've been at the bottom. So I've done the whole. People aspire to be someone like you when you're turning over that much money. You know what I mean? And I just say to them, look, it's just a waste. It's a waste of time for you, your family, your kids. And I always play with people. I say, like I do go in. Like I was in one the other week. I said, look, I can get you started on like 12 and a half quid an hour. Within 3 months, if you prove to what you're doing, I'll get you up to 18, 20, 25, 30. But you've got to prove that. Oh, fuck that. I'm not getting out of bed for 12.50 an hour. I said, aren't you know? I said, so what are you going to do? And start selling scrap again. I went, how long have you got left? He went, 2 years. I went, where's your bird and the kids? He went, is that home? I went, struggling. He went, yeah. And I went, you're near being a prick saying you don't want to earn for 12.50 an hour. And you could see him put his head down like that. I went, don't put your head down, mate. I went, I'm just talking to you. He went, nah, Scouse, apologise, mate. I said, don't be a big boy in here. I went, because trying to be a big man in here is not going to sort your family out, because you're going to bed every night. You've got heat. You've got food. You've got somewhere to sleep. You've got light. But your family are out there struggling. And that's where I always like work on. And like I work in the majority of Cat D establishments around the country now. And for me, like I come up with an idea of an app called Inside Connections when I was down here. And up to now, since 2019 to where we are today, we're near 4,000 people into full-time employment, but 78% of that are from prison.
Wow.
And on the last 2 years since COVID, we've got now just on 400 people coming out of prison every morning, going to work and then going back in overnight. Because for me, it gives them a job. It gives them a sustainable wage. They go home for 5 days every month. You can go home and look after your kids, take them out, buy them some toys. You're earning money because you've got a job. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we've had one problem with one person who absconded, which was nothing basically to do with us, but my life's dedicated to helping people now, Tel.
Right.
And I love what I do.
And obviously going back to where you've gone back at it, when was the next time that you got arrested?
It's 2011, started 2011.
And what was that? What was that for?
Class A and Class B.
Right,
so
okay.
Coke, speed and weed.
And how big was that?
Well, to be honest with you, it was in, so I was talking to you before about skits. Me and John were partners at the time. And you know what? I should never have got 14 years. The first sentence was 14 years, down to 9.5. But I should never have got that, because someone turns up to I'd every time I got a weed up, like a ton of weed we got up, and it was I'd put it in way in a stash. I didn't want no one knowing where my stash was. And then I've spoke about who it was. I don't really want to go into the bottom anymore because I've got no animosity with the guy no more, but he was family. And basically, he took a key of weed somewhere, didn't turn up. I followed his route about an hour later, come behind the police station and seen his vehicle parked in the back of the police station. So I knew he'd been had.
Right.
So I flew up back to the stash, got rid of the bigger stuff and as much weed as I could. And I'd left about 240 key of weed I'd left in there. And it's only warranted me 5 years, Terry. You know what I mean? So we kind of moved it all. On the way back, you know when you got this gut feeling? I said, something's just not right. I went, don't pull into where the stash is. I said, just go round to the, I'll go over the cricket ground and have a little look over the wall. And looked over the wall, there's two unmarked police cars with plods in it, you know, watching the stash. So I knew he'd throw me in anyway. But I knew there was only 240 key of weeds in there. So I weren't really asked about it, to be honest, because it warranted me 4 or 5 years. So he's in for a couple of days, gets out. We go sees him, says, what's happening? Nothing, said no comment, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, we were going to pay someone a few quids. We had this kid who was going to take the charge. And we had it sorted, everything right. And then, boom, I got nicked. So 3 times they busted me. First time, they never had nothing, no phones, no nothing in the house. Second time, didn't have nothing, couldn't get me on nothing. And then the third time, they put me in because that's when they had the evidence. And I seen his evidence, what come through. He just threw me straight in. You know what I mean?
So you had the jock and then you had him.
Yeah. But this is what happens with people, Terry, you know, when people know, like, the police will say to them, look, you're looking at 10 years for this, you know. Oh, I can't do 10 years in jail, please, I can't do 10 years in jail. And you've got to be mindful of the people you're going to be working with, because you never ever think further down the line to throw you in. You know what I mean? This is why I always said to you before about screws. I wouldn't be paying screws to bring drugs and phones into the prison, because when they get nicked, they're just going to sing like a canary anyway.
Right.
So for me, it was never sort of go down that route anyway. There's better ways of means. Prison's always going to be like a cat and mouse. It's for you to get stuff in and the screws to get it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not going to stop, because drug dealers and everyone are in there. Your drugs are worth a hell of a lot more money in prison than they are outside, and phones.
Right. And when you got nicked, did they put you straight on remand?
It went straight on remand, yeah. I was in Walton for probably only about 10 months. I was in Walton. And John, so 2 lads escaped out of a prison van on the way out to Strangeways, 2 Scouse lads.
Right.
And then obviously my co-accused, my partner at the time, he escaped out of a prison van in Redditch.
Yeah, because you and Stuart Reid, you both got blamed for it, didn't you?
Yeah. So he got out of there, but they come to me. Now, what happened with me is something was on Crime Watch, and I spoke to my dad. I went, see that bloody lunatic on the telly last night? Everyone went, that was that phone call. It went that phone call because they knew what they were doing for me. Right. He come and got me and went, look, you're going down the block. I went, what for? He went, look, just come down and blah, blah. We'll sort of go through it that way. So goes down the block. Next minute, got me in stripes. I went, what the fuck's going on? Stopped me from speaking to my solicitor. Stopped me from speaking to my family. I couldn't interact with any prisoners. I was stuck in the block 2012, freezing cold, with a blanket, a little tiny light and a wind-up radio. And then he said, look, they're doing a pot cat A in you, but that's potential cat A, which was only supposed to take 72 hours, but they took me down on a Friday. I had to spend the weekends in there anyway. Bearing in mind, there was shit all over the wall stains. People were doing dirty protests down there, so it just stunk of shit down there anyway. And I ended up being in there for 3 weeks. But 3 weeks of I had scabs all over me, stunk. You could still smell it when I got to the Cat A unit. And I still couldn't interact with anyone. They had to let me out at 7 o'clock of a night and walk around a cage this big as my 20-minute sort of exercise. And then the Home Office made the decision to Cat A me. And then I got from Walton. It took me from Walton with armed guards front and back. Blue lighted me all the way to Strangeways. Didn't even give me £200 for passing fucking go like they do in Monopoly. Just sent me straight up there. And then I get into Strangeways, bearing in mind I've come out of the blue and yellow stripes, right, and now I've got a green and yellow cat A suit on me. So I've come into Strangeways, and obviously the Cat A unit's inside the prison in the middle. And then they took me in there, and as soon as I got out, the dogs got me, so the dogs got hold of me. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? My head was messed up. I was reading Martina Cole books, and she's fucking heavy here with them books. Have you ever read any of her books?
Yeah, good.
Oh, they're fucking heavy though, aren't they? And then I was reading all that, and just me mental health was going through the roof, because you're stuck in there, I had scabs here and here with winding this fucking radio up every 10 minutes, you know what I mean? So just playing, and it was freezing cold down there, but gets into the Cat A unit in Strangeways. I'll be honest with you, it was like walking into the Hilton. It was telly in the room, lovely and warm. Don't get me wrong, it was a cell, but fuck me, it was like coming out of the shithole into something that was warm, telly there, stuff like that. And gets in there, and Screws got me, and they went, look, there's 17 years on the Cat A unit. Don't blink twice, because people will stab you in the neck, they'll do this. So they put a lot of stuff in my head. And he said, look, for 7 days, you've got to stay on the block here so we can assess you before we put you in the Cat A unit in there. I went, all right, sound. And every day they were telling me about stuff. So I was big at the time. I was press ups, getting in the mirror. Just thought the first person near me in there, I'm just going to fucking whack and just make a statement that I'm not a prick. And if anyone wants it, I'll fucking have a fight with you. If I get fucked, I get fucked, but I'll have to fight with you. And then they come to me on the day and went, right, John, get your stuff ready. The next half an hour, you're going on to the uni. So, okay, you know, banging loads of press ups out, just making myself look big and angry walking through. Had a skinhead on me. And then, you know, when you don't know what you're walking into, Terry, I've walked in there, me, and I'm like, heads down, and I heard, no, then, no birds. And I fucking looked up, and all my mates were on the fucking top. And it just wound me up, but it was one of them for 5-6 days. It just mentally tortured me. So, then 4 weeks of being in the block in Walton to being in the block in Strangeways it was just a bit of a nightmare. And then on the Cat A unit, I actually quite liked the Cat A unit. He was only probably 17 or 18 of us on the time. One of my really good mates, Cockney kid, he was in there. He was in Holland, and he thought he was coming back to Stansted, so they put a hood on him, flew him in, they landed him in Manchester and put him in the Cat A. And I'm really close mates with him now still. Right. Really nice guy and really good people in there. No one's talking about when they're getting out. Some serious hitters in there, you know what I mean? And I always remember being in there, like sitting down, no talking, and there was 2 brothers in there, nice kids. You know, they were decent lads. And he was saying, what are you in for? Blah, blah, blah. I told him, so I said, what are you in for? He went, I'll come in and have a cup of tea. Oh, it's a fucking bit weird taking me in a cell. Fucking hell, Terry. He said, have you ever tried chopping a body up, John? I went, no, I haven't. Why? I said, I never would do. I said, I'd do it like a chicken where your joints are. He went, no, I've never cut a chicken up. He said, I was sawing, he showed me a picture of legs sawn off, head sawn off, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this? And I've only been in there a few days, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I in with here? But it turns out they were really nice lads, but chopped a body up into pieces, went and dumped it. He'd killed the kid and shot him in the head, chopped everything, and it was just one of them where you couldn't believe what you were looking at. You know what I mean? And it was like, what the fuck am I doing in here? I've got a drug charge on me. And then, long story short, we were on there till we got sentenced. I had to go to, I was in the Cat A vans going to and from the courts and stuff like that. And then I thought I was looking at 5 years. And my solicitor said, look, 5.5 tops, 240 key a week. Fuck me, they give me a 14-year sentence. And I thought, a bit harsh. So because I pleaded guilty in the police station to get the family out, I got 33% discount. So it took me down to 9.5 years. So I was happy. Gets back to the Cat A unit. Governor, the schools and all that called me in and went, right, look, you've got under 10 years. I went, yeah. He said, so you don't need to be on the Cat A unit. I went, what? He went, we're going to get you off and move you to a normal location. I went, oh, fucking great. I thought I can progress then. I wanted to escape. I just wanted to get me jailed done and go home to my kids. And gets in the next day. Screws have called me in and went, look, just to let you know, the police have raided all your dad's and family's properties. I went, what for? He went, well, we've just had a phone call to tell you to give them a ring. So I waited 2 days, spoke to my dad, and then they'd nicked them all on money laundering charges. But the police were fuming because I got 9.5 years and I didn't have to stay in a Cat A unit. And basically, they wanted me kept in that Cat A unit. Right. And the governor basically said, under law, he hasn't got over 10 years. He said, and he's got no more charges. He said, so use a victim with a charge now. He said, but we can't really sort of make that decision. So I ended up getting out the Cat A unit. Well, my family got nicked anyway. Goes to Garth. I was in Garth. Be there for a year or 2. Tried to get moved to CCAP by us. Police restrictions on me. He said, no, we get moved out of the Northwest. I went, Shibba you're out of all prisons in the Northwest. I went, what for? He said, you've got too much influence on prisons, drugs, cons and officers. I went, where the fuck are you getting your shit from here? I went, I haven't got nothing to do with it. So they ended up sending me to Wolverhampton, which at the time was a really good move. It was a brand new jail where the kitchen facilities and all that went to. So there was McDonald's coming in and that for you. But I had my own cell. I had my own shower in my cell. Underfloor eating. It was just a brand new jail. So for me, it was great. And then sort of started my rehabilitation through there, went back to court, and I ended up taking another 5 years to keep me dad and a few other people, even the grass, one of the grasses was in there, kept them out of jail because I didn't put them in that situation to go to jail, you know what I mean, Terry? So it took another 5 years. So my totality was 19 years. Obviously, my servable sentence was 12, half of 12. And then I had just under 2 years left to serve, tried to get back up north, blocked me again, ended up on the Isle of Sheppey. But it was a good move for me. Isle of Sheppey was a great cat day. Some boss people, I knew a lot of people down there anyway.
And what happened with the prison escape with John? What happened with that? Because
John went to John's escape. He took out of a van in Redditch, I think it was Yule Grange, and he ended up going on a long trip to get to Northern Cyprus, John.
Right.
And I remember, I think he probably was there for about 14 months or something.
So the escape was somebody actually, they rammed the van, did they?
So what happened with the two in Liverpool, the two that got out of Manchester, was with sledgehammers and all that.
Right.
So this was exactly the same. So there was no guns, nothing like that. It was just more like sort of sledgehammer stuff. So these thought that was why it linked to me, because I knew Scousers. I knew two of the lads because they were on my wing when I was in there, and I knew John. Do you know what I mean?
So it was all your fault.
Well, that's what they said. So basically, they blame me, and they blame Stu.
Right.
And Stu didn't have nothing to do with it. Stu should never have gone to jail. He should never, ever, ever have gone to jail. And the only reason he did it because he had passed. He had a past, and the past was for important stuff. And the judge said, "I will bring your past up if you go into a jury." And he said, "If you get found guilty, I'll give you 30 years." He had to plead for the 20.
Years.
And he didn't have nothing to do with it. You know, John had a big lot to do with a lot because they used to call him skits, you know, but he was one of the best loyalist mates ever, and probably still will be to this day. He's just confinedly locked up, and I don't think they're ever going to let him out. But mate, saying that now with the discounts and stuff, instead of him doing 15 years, he's probably only going to do 13 years. So
and when they sledgehammered the van or whatever and got him out, how did they get him out of the country?
He probably got in the back of vans. I think it was about wagons for about 28 days. Don't get me wrong. You know when you say
so wagons, you mean like literally a transport?
Yes, going out of this country into another country is fine because you're not going to get any headaches of bringing drugs from here into there because it fucking won't happen. It's coming into this country,
right?
Like, and if you think about it, 12 years ago, he was in the back of a wagon. He's probably on a 28-day journey to Northern Cyprus, so he's over there with his family and stuff. And then one night he's walking up after having a few pints. Van doors open, five fellas get out with guns and balaclavas on, knock him out, kidnap him, and he thought he was getting killed, John. And then took him over the border. English police soon they got him over the border in Northern Cyprus, arrested him, and then brought him back, and he ended up in Belmarsh on a double cat.
Is that legal?
No, but I'm pretty sure when he gets out, he'll talk about it, John.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Do you know what, Terry? I'll give John his due. One of the most nicest, loyal people around you.
Yeah.
But if it goes off, mate, you don't want to be in there anywhere near him when it goes off because he's a fucking maniac. But I love him, mate. I always will do, and I'll always respect him. But
I look forward to skits when he comes out. We'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he'll get on, John. He'll have some stories to tell you.
And then obviously you've now got this massive chunk of bird.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel, John? Was you literally like, fuck's sake, or did you just sort of take it head on and just think, well, I've got to do it?
Do you know, once the judge puts that hammer down, Terry, you can't really do say or anything about it, mate. You
didn't want to appeal it. You just thought I was going to just do it.
Everyone tries to appeal. No matter what, you've got 28 days to appeal anyway. So no matter what, throw it in. Right. I always knew I'd get knocked back, but if it did win it, then it's a bonus.
Right.
If it didn't win it, I'm still doing the same anyway.
Right.
You know, it's so, you know, people go, "Oh, I'll get me appeal this, I'll get me appeal that." I don't think many people get appeals. You know what I mean? So I knew what I had to do. I had 12 years to do. You know what I mean? I had to serve 6 and then on license for 6. So I started my journey. Now, I just played the game. You know what I mean? You know, for the first 2 or 3 years I was in there, it was a fucking nightmare.
Right.
Because I was getting drugs and stuff into there. I never ever used screws though. But I was getting drugs and green and stuff in there. But it was part of what you are. You've grew up in a drug world. The main thing for you is getting like You know, I used to get like 3 or 4 ounces of green in there, but probably worth £8,000. Out here, it'd be worth about £500. You know what I mean? So it's like for you to get stuff in and them to try and find it. And I was in Oakwood, mate, and I was having some kids from Scotland owed me a few quid, and I got on a phone on a mobile and said to one of my mates, I went, look, go and put that to Kip. Sorry about the language.
So you can say naughty words.
Yeah, but
everyone who's watching this is over 18.
I know, yeah. But it's like I said, put him a Kip, meaning go and get me money, knock him out, and just welly him. You know what I mean? But for some unknown reason, 2 days later, I'm sitting with a load of new prisoners coming in. So I used to, when the lads used to come in again, anyone getting bullied or stuff, we'd always used to step in and go, nah, it's not happening. I've always helped people in the system. And like when you get like 20 prisoners coming in, I'd think, oh, he's a blurt, he's going on these wings, he's got drug issues, he's going on that wings. Meet someone like you and go, you know what, he's half sound, Terry, get him on our wing with us and keep him with us. And then I've seen these two police walk with NCA, National Crime Agency, you know, on the lanyards. And I just realised I've still got mine on from my event. I went, oh, someone's in trouble here, it's the NCA. And they've knocked on the door and gone, John Burton. I've gone, yeah. He went, can we have a chat with you in the office? I went, no. I went, whatever you've got to say it here in front of these. I ain't going in the office with you. And he went, right. He said, I've got an Osmond warrant I need you to sign. And I went, what's that for? He went, it's a threat on a life. I went, on my life? He went, no. I said, well, what's it got to do with me? He went, you give the order from your cell 2 nights ago. I went, oh, f*** off, mate. I went, f*** off. I'm not signing nothing. And then, shit, you're not telling me, my head was burnt out. I went right back to the wing, snapped all the phone up, got rid of it, never used that mobile ever again in jail. But the other people I was working with outside who had spoke to, 6 of them all got the same warnings. Right. So they are all over them. Right. And from that day onwards, I went, you know, if he either got battered or if he either got killed, I've been getting lifed off now. Wow. And I was sitting in my cell going, I went, I can't do this to my kids. And I've already got them up the wall now. And I went, f*** it. Smashed the phone up. That's it. The last 3 years of that sentence was me going straight. But then every night was sort of writing something down what I could sort of put my head to when I get out, or, you know, I've always helped people in prison. People can't read and write. You know, I used to read the letters out to some of them, right? So like, John, can you read this to me? I'd go, yeah, dear David, unfortunately, I'm really sorry to send you this letter, but I've been having an affair. And he could be going, what? I go, I'm only winding you up. But I used to but I used to like read letters and stuff and just help them a little bit and like, I hate bullies. Right. And, you know, if we were on wings, there's always have a couple of us who were all right. Right. Anyone getting bullied, but we'd just say, nah, mate, it's not. Because you usually get 6 foot people fucking bullying 4'9" lads, and I'm not happening. You know, so I've always seen a niche where I've always helped people. Right. Even like when I was making up fortunes out there today, I used to give a lot of money to the community and football kids for kids and stuff. So I've always had that in my head. And then I got moved to Stamford Hill on the Isle of Sheppey. And I just thought, you know what, my kids, like, sit me on my knee for an hour and they go, Dad, I've got to travel all the way home now. And I go, I'll be all right, babe, I'll be out soon. And bearing in mind, like my last 17 months, I should have been out on town visits and home leaves. Please stop that. It was my last 9 months I first got on home leave, a town visit. And I went to London, 6th of December, 2016. Or no, 6th of December, I think it was, 2016. And I put a report in, you know, where I had to go and everything like that. When I get back to the prison, there was a police van there and about 15 screws, loads of police. I've got back 5 minutes early and I've gone, what's going on? They went, look, you'll have to go in the cage a minute. I went, what for? I went, I'm back. What? I've not run. What's happening? I was getting followed in London, but because it was that busy near Christmas, they lost me and they thought I'd got off. So they were nearly shipping me out, and it was one of the screws went, hang on a minute, you can't ship him out. He went, he hasn't done nothing. He went, he's gone out on a town visit and come back in. He went, he hasn't absconded. He went, no, you're not taking him. Give that man his due, Alan. He stood on for me. Right. I always respected him for that. So they made me then every 2 weeks go to Westfields in Stratford. Right. So for my town visit from 10 in the morning getting there till 4 I was leaving after having Westfields. And it was just like, you can't do the same stuff in there. But at least I used to meet the kids and my dad and just do it that way. And I always thought, you know what, I've got to get out of doing something. And this is where, like, I've had this thing, then my mates come in now. Now, bearing in mind, it was only iPhone 1s or 2s out by 210, 211 anyway, so I'd never use one. And my mate Michael come in, he comes down, visit me, him and his missus, he was talking to me about these apps on these iPhones. He was saying, you know, they're the way future, there's people doing this, and never thought nothing of it. And I was sitting in my pad a couple of nights later, and I'd been writing stuff, what I want, and I thought, you know what, I've got a fucking app here. I wondered if I could do an app here of getting, you know, because I used to see people getting out in the morning, coming back in overnight. And I thought, if we could get them signposted to like dentists, doctors, opticians, housing associations, training, employment, education, I'll make an app just sort of signposting everyone to this site, and wrote it all out and stuff. And then comes back from, started working out on the prison vans. So I was picking people up in the prison of a morning, taking them to Rochester, dropping them off in the morning, and then taking people to Sittingbourne in the afternoon, and then going back to Rochester for the night.
Right.
So I was out sort of on the vans, going back, going to the gym, going out the prison, getting back in, and then sort of goes in to get me key one day. And I went, Keith, can I get me key off the board, mate? Because you have your keys to your own pads in the cat keys. Right. And I said, Keith, can I get me key off the board? He went, yeah, go ahead, Scouse. And I heard some comments of, Scouse, you look like a Jedi. And I've turned around, there's a bald fella with a tweed jacket and a pair of jumbo cords on. And I've turned around, Jedis are people from Birkenhead who are just over the way from us. Right. And we call them Jedis because they all live in the dark side, we say. And I've turned around and went, hell, Ballsy. I went, you look like a fucking Jedi with your tweed jacket on, your jumbo cords, you knobhead. And he started having a bit of banter with him. Right. So just having a proper banter, having a giggle. And I went, anyway, I said, I haven't got time for you, Baldrick. I went, I'm going back to me pad. And then where the fuck are you on my wing anyway? He went, I'm glad you said that, Johnny. He went, my name's Jim Padley. I'm the new #1 governor. I went, oh, fucking hell. So first, I've just put my foot right in it. But he's giggling. And at that time, I was probably really strong now. I was probably benching about 200 key. And I said, look, I've got an idea about an app and stuff like that. And went through when he went, yeah, come down and see me. He went, sounds really interesting. He went, John, can I say something? I went, yeah. He went, obviously, you've got a big mouth. You're a Scouser. You're a fucking big Scouser. He said, you've got a skinhead. He went, you frighten the fucking life out of me. I went, I don't mean to. He said, it's just the way you come across. I went, look, Gov, I said, if you back me on this, I said, I'll guarantee you, when I get out in 15 months, I went, you will see a total different person. He went, all right, come down and see me. So I went down a few days later and showed him my business plan about building the app and what it was for. Right. And he went, John, you know what, mate? He went, I'm going to be honest with you. He went, it's probably one of the best ideas I've ever seen come across my desk. Wow. If you can pull it off, he went, I'll back you. I said, look, Gov, I went, I'm out working on the vans and stuff. I said, but I need to do research and find out a bit more. And he went, well, look, he said, what you can do is when you've come back to prison, just tell them, I'll write you a thing. You can go outside to the prison cafe down by Swale side. He said, you can have your iPhone and you can do your research and stuff. Right. So he backed me on doing it. And then 2 weeks before I was getting out, he told me to do a presentation, to staff, governors, and obviously cons who were in there. Right. And I've went down there, bearing in mind, Terry, I've lost 5 stone, I had a pair of glasses on, grew my hair.
You became Harry Potter.
Yeah, I've Harry Pottered. I've knocked on his door and he's gone, yeah, can I help you? I went, yeah, all right, Jim. I said, it's John Burton, I've come to do my presentation. He said, John, he said, what have you done? I went, what do you mean? He went, you look totally different. I said, look, Jim, I said, I've got to change in life, mate. I went, I can't change and just be the same person. I went, I don't want to be that person no more. I went, I've lost 5 stone. I said, I've grew my hair. I said, I've come out of it because I want to be a new person and a new man and get away from this life of crime because it's a load of bollocks. And I done my presentation by 40 minutes. No one said nothing. You're like, shit. And then he stood up and he went, I'm going to be, and he had a lump in his throat, Jim, and he said, I can't really speak, John. He said, I'm a bit emotional at the minute. I went, for what? He went, he said, this is the best thing that's landed on my desk in 30 years. He went, I think it'll be a game changer for the prison system. He went, I think you'll change a lot of prisons. I think you'll change a lot in the prison system. He said, but I think you'll change a lot of people's lives going forward. And he went, I recommend you for that. And he said, hopefully you can keep your head at it, stick at it, and sort of do it. So I was getting out 2017, started 2017. On my restrictions where I can't go back to Liverpool. I was barred from Merseyside. So what am I supposed to do? My kids live there, my dad lives there, everyone was there. So I ended up going to Cheshire, a little place called Runcorn. I stayed there for a few months and then I moved back down to Kent.
Did you meet any of the Cheshire housewives when you was up there?
I know a couple of them anyway. From they're further up, like Runcorn's a shithole.
Right.
To their Cheshire,
right.
Runcorn's just not even. You know, it's not like it's nowhere near anywhere. Cheshire, where you're on about, is really nice and upmarket.
Right.
Runcorn's it's a little bit of rough area, nice place, and some really nice people there. But I ended up going back down to Kent after a few months. But you know when you say, in life, things happen for a reason. I always believe in fate, mate, and I always believe meeting people. I've always met people, and always there's been a link along the way.
Right.
And while I was out doing all my prison runs, I used to be like Medway Marina, and I used to go around, have a little coffee and chill. You know, if it was sunny, sit on the bench and have a little chill. And there was always these flats there, and I always thought I'd love to live in one of them. He said, you know, on the bottom floor there, overlooking where all the boats were, it was brilliant. And when it goes down from Runcorn looking, I just pulled in there for a cup of coffee just to reminisce a little bit. And one of the flats was empty. And I goes to Entwistle Green and spoke to them. And just on my way out, I told them all about me getting out of prison and what I was doing. Just on my way out, the woman's called me back. She went, look, the landlord's going to come down and see you now. She said, will you wait? I went, yeah. And I'll never forget the woman, Jackie, lovely woman. She knew about me coming out of prison. And she went, you know what? She went, I'm really happy about what you're doing with your app and everything. I'm going to give you a go. Now, I moved in that flat and really enjoyed it. I was out on my veranda every morning, 6 o'clock, having a nice little cup of tea and some porridge and some toast, just chilling, watching the boats go by, living a nice, peaceful life. And then my neighbour, a kid called Carl, I'd only spoke to him once. He was fitting windows and doors. That's all I thought. Not an of it. That was it. My mum told you before, died when I was 24. I goes to bed one night and I kept having this dream. Carl's your answer to your tech. Carl's your answer to your tech. Carl's your answer to your tech. So when you wake up in the morning, it's in your head that Carl's your answer to your tech. And when coffee's a window fucking fitter, never thought nothing of it. Terry went out for a cup of tea. Looked like that. All his curtains were open. And I've seen all computer screens. Now, bearing in mind, I've been getting prices of like 80, 100 grand to get this app developed. And I've looked like that and I've gone, so I've shouted to Carl, I went, I've had this berserk weird dream. I said, do you do anything with apps and stuff? He went, yeah, I do it in my spare time. It's a bit geeky, Carl, lovely lad. So he's ended up coming round, Terry. By him meeting him there, he packed his job in the next day, come and work for me. He built me app. He's now up in Liverpool with us. He's our main software developer.
Wow.
We've built software now that we've just got into Etihad Rail. So the stuff we're doing now would never have done it without me being in that flat and having that dream. It was just berserk.
Divine intervention.
Yeah. And that's where I always say, like Inside Connections, like everyone said, why did you call it Inside Connections? Well, you know, obviously inside I was in jail and I wanted to make connections. I said, so we made Inside Connections. And Inside Connections was an app at first. And then it was just signposting people. But I've just been to the Skills Centre in London now. Bearing in mind, when I come out of prison trying to get funds and to get people into training and employment, it was, everyone, drug dealer, you're not giving him no money. And I work with the Skills Centre down here, John Owl and John White and Sam Downton, the owners of it. They took a backing with me and started working with me with funds. And I started getting people from the prisons into training, construction, CSES, stuff like that, and then placing them into work. And then Wilmot Dixon come to me in 2019, said, I've got a project, I want you to come and work on it with us. I went, where is it? They went, Liverpool. I went, oh my God. So you can't write it.
Right.
But in them 2 years, the police and the probation all knew what I was doing because I was putting a lot of people into work. And I had a meeting with the police and the probation and they said, look, we'll lift your restrictions and come up and do it. And it was Kingsdock car park on the waterfront.
Right.
If you remember, I don't know whether you remember, but where the Echo Arena was, there was a car park there, indoor car park, multi-story. One of the cars went on fire in there and the whole lot went up.
Right.
So they had to leave all the cars in there and demolish the whole lot. and build this new King's Dock car park. So they wanted me to work with people on ROTL, which is people who were in prison on release on temporary license. So I went to HMP Thorn Cross, sourced my first 12 people, brought them down to the site in containers, had all the subcontractors on site, and I'd done a 2-week introduction to construction where we'd get them all the information on construction, small tools, asbestos awareness, manual handling, but most of all, a CSCS cards, what would get them on site to work.
Yeah.
Everyone who was on the last day in there got a job. And they're all working for different companies, building this, whether, it was floor polishing, steel erecting, labourers, they were all working on site. And that was September 2019. I had 12 lads coming out of prison every day, going to work, and going to as they're on the way to work, buying food, having a nice food at dinner. On the way home, they were stopping at a chippy, going back into the prison. As long as they were back in the prison by 7 o'clock, on the ROTL papers, everyone was happy. Then I got another group out. I had all them working there. Everyone's working through Christmas, all going brilliant. And then what happens? March 2020. So bearing in mind, that was the day, 21st of March, Carl decided to move from Kent in the flat I was in. I'd got an house in Liverpool and we come and moved in with me. And we all the way up from Kent, we're driving with him. He's, can't wait to go to Liverpool, do this, do that. By the time we moved all this stuff and moved him in, we went into lockdown the next day. So he didn't even see Liverpool for 6 months.
Right.
So then the prison had to pull everyone back in. So all them lads lost their jobs on that site. And because of the prison system, everyone with COVID lost it all. But Terry, we were that far from losing the business, the charity, everything. And we ended up staying open, but doing frontline workers for construction. And then probably just over 2 years ago now, the prisons opened again, where I started working back with Cat D's and prisons again. And I think since then, up to now, we're 384 people we've had coming out of prison every day, going to work and going back in the night. But they've all got the opportunity to stay in them jobs on release as well. Now, it gives them a purpose in life.
Yeah.
It helps the families, especially the wives and girlfriends who are struggling out there, a lot of them, for money. The lads can earn a wage. They can earn a wage like, if you're a labourer on a site, you'll earn the same money as another labourer on a site. The prison take a proportion of it for the victims' families' funds, and then obviously you can then start supporting your families.
Yeah, amazing.
But I think since now, 2019, up to now, we're just short of 4,000 people. This year alone, I think by the end of the year, we'll hit 1,000 people in employment.
Wow.
But you've got care leavers, veterans, prisoners, prisoners who are still in, prison leavers, anyone who's on the way to sort of going down that road. I've proved my stripes to people now, and it's the likes of the Skills Centre, I'll never forget, because they give me and help me for 3 or 4 years to prove a point to me. After I got past 4 years, people were seeing that I'm not going to go back into crime.
Right.
I'm not going to go left and go right for people. I'm going to go in a straight line because I love my life now. If I would have known my life would have been like this years and years ago, I'd have never got into crime.
Right.
But, it served a purpose for me, that it's given me a life that if I'd never been in that life, I wouldn't be doing what I do today. I'm passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
Our company's now won 5 big awards. The last year we won the big National Rehabilitation Awards in the Houses of Parliament.
Wow.
For me, that was it was really good going through there.
Yeah.
Seeing it, the House of Lords, House of Parliament, where the Queen sat when she goes in there. It was just a really good day out. Sat with David Blunkett and loads of MPs having our breakfast and dinner in there. And I won the first prize.
Wow.
I was made up. I was honoured to win the first prize. But they asked me, how did I feel? I went, look, I'm honoured to win it. I said, but my reward for me every day is watching young people and people coming out of prison have a life after prison and not reoffend. I said, that's where I get my satisfaction from.
And I suppose from what you've been through, something great has come out of adversity. You've actually come out and picked a different path, but like you said, it's doing it for the greater good. It's helping these guys get off the streets. The only thing that I think you need to do next is you've got to do a book.
Do you know what I've always said I would
do a book.
And I've had a few people on me now asking for the rights to a film and stuff like that. I've had people asking me for a book.
You say
like
I can't sell them to you because Terry's got them already.
To be honest, Terry, me and you have been friends for a long time, mate. If I was going to speak to anyone, then obviously, you know, I would.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a time in my life
for sure
when I'm going to sit down and look, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Like, you probably see me sitting here moving everywhere. And I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Like, I spoke to me mates, and fucking hell, could have told you that 25 years ago. Stu as well.
Nobody knew what ADHD was then.
No. It was like, I've got ADHD RS Turbo XR3 out with XR2 added onto it. So I'm dyslexic as well. I've always been like English. I've never really understood like English, comedy, apostrophes. I've never understood it. But like, here's one for you. I've always been good with numbers and stuff. I had a lad come to me last year. John just got out after, come with his probation officers, just gone out after doing a 15 for, he said, just need a job, can't do these computer stuff. I went, what was you in jail for, mate? He went, drugs. I went, all right. I went, how many grams in an ounce? He went, come on. I said, well, how many? He said, 28. I went, how many ounces in a kilo? 36. How many kilos in a ton? 1,000. And all right. I said, where'd you keep your tick list? He went, all up here. I said, so if I give you a cake like that, would you be able to? He went, no. I said, okay. I said, if I give you a kilo of cocaine, I said, and cut it in 4, what would you have? He went, 4 quarters. I went, now you're thinking, aren't you? He went, what? I went, so what have you got? I said, you cut a cake in 4. I said, you couldn't get it, but you cut a kilo of cocaine in 4. What have you got? He goes, 4 quarters. I said, so you cut them again and cut them again. And I went, what does it work out at? Did you used to sell? He went, 8, 16. So I went, come on. And he started twigging then and going, I went, let me just put you on this computer for 10 minutes. I went, you can tell me if it's too hard, get off it. 10 minutes, come out. He went, thought it was easy, John. I went, yeah. I said, you've just got level 2 in maths. He went, what's that? I went, well, you've just got a certificate. He was crying getting a certificate.
Wow.
But he didn't realise that all these years, fractions and stuff, because I said to him, here's a kilo of cocaine, cut it in 4, what you get? He went, quarter keys. And that's where I play with people now, because people go about sums and stuff. If you're selling drugs and you're good at it, numbers are in your head. You know, it's like you need a level 2 in English to be a bricklayer. Why do you need to put a comma or a full stop at the end of every bricks you put out there? I said, no. I said, but you need to count the bricks. I said, so I don't understand. A lot of my people are not academic. You know what I mean? The people who have grew up like me or a lot don't read, don't write. They just want to get themselves on a building site or something and just prove what they can do. Now, we've progressed in a few years of what we do now. So we're heavy into construction, heavy into civil engineering, we're heavy into telecoms. We've just got in the world of renewable energy, solar, battery storage, stuff like that. We do beauty. We do catering, hospitality. I have partners that do HGV. We do warehouse. Do you know what, Terry? We're winning funding everywhere because we've had our DFE audits, we've had our Ofsted audits, and we've come really, really high in them all.
Wow.
I've brought the right people in, the right CEOs, the right COOs, the right staff, and my children. Ben's 27, he's director of 5 companies. Olivia's 22, the 2 of them are just smashing it. But as a father, I've done my job. All my time in prison for me to sit there and watch them 2 children grow into what they are, not being involved in crime. That's all I want in life. That's all I wanted out of life. I didn't want my kids growing up in a world, and you're probably the same. You know, we were all in the rave years, you know what I mean, years ago. And our always thing was to make money and get our way, get ourselves to a better area, give kids a better way of life and put them in better schools so they can educate and I've done it. Yeah, and to me, I'm happy now. And like, you know, from just over 3 years ago, we were nearly lost everything, but we've kept on, we've got it, and we're working with some of the biggest companies all over the country. But like this, like I was in an event before, I come out, I just got 25, I come out to do a 20-minute Teams call, I got 25 jobs.
Amazing.
I was in Connected Britain, I do a lot of motivational speaking, come out of Connected Britain with 50 jobs. You know, so for me, everyone now wants a piece of working with people from a different talent pool.
Everybody wants a piece of Johnny B.
Yeah, they all want to fucking go, man. I said, hey, fuck off. But I love it. I just love what I do. And then, you know what? It's like, it's a buzz. You know what I mean? It's like, do you know what it's like? It's a bit weird because it's like what I was doing in my drug world. I was going round. I was sort of traveling the country. I was meeting with people. I was sort of having meetings, going there, trying to get work. Where now I'm doing it straight. I'm traveling the country. I'm meeting people. I'm getting work. I'm earning out of it. But I've got contracts now where I've got companies now that are fitting solar, that are doing solar farms, that are doing civil engineering. And I've gone from being under people to being a tier one and having my own contracts where millions out there running them. And all the lads who work on them, they've all got a past.
I've got a great name for your book.
What?
From Prison to Riches.
Yeah, so you see me now, Terry, I can't have nothing. I can't.
No.
So when I tried to open the business, we can't open you one. I went, why not? He said, you can't be on the business. We can't give you a bank account. So I can't be named on the business because El Monzo knocked me back 6 months ago. So I've got money laundering, tax evasion, drugs, cigarettes. I've got a 4-page DBS that's just got convictions from I'll show you my DBS from the age of 11, 12, right the way through. And if I went in for a job with that, they'd just probably knock me back on it.
So your criminal record is like a fucking essay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's I was involved in it early, at an early age.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of my past. I can't change my past, but I can certainly change my future.
Yeah. You're doing a good job by the sounds of it, John.
That's the thing for me, Terry. That's what I want to do, because for every now, if I've got 4,000 people I've put in work, 78% of them are from the prison estate. It's not just their lives I've changed. It's their families and the kids. And for me, do you really want your kids I have lads now who've gone into the Cat D. I say to them, do not go in with any contraband. What do you mean? I said, well, don't try and take a vape in. Don't try and take tins of fish in. Don't be trying to take tobacco in. I said, because when you get nicked and you go on a 3-month rattle ban, I went, here's what you've got to do. Phone me and say, I'm not coming out for 3 months. There's your job gone. Because I can't keep your job for 3 months for you. I said, but then phone your wife and then phone your kids and tell them that you're not coming home for just over 3 months now because you've been a naughty boy. I went, then 5 days every month that your kids and your wife have waited for so many years, you fucked that up by taking a vape in. I said, so think about that before you walk in the prison with anything. I went, play the game with me, play the game with the prison, and go home and see your kids. I've had people end of November, gone in with a bit of steak, 3-month rattle ban. They're not even out for the kids for Christmas. And then they're sitting there going, oh, what have I done? What have I done? Think about it. I educate them and I just say, look, use your head.
Listen, John, I hope you get some sort of recognition for what you're doing. I'm sure you will.
I don't want to.
You could be an MBE or a CBE. They might give you
Dave, old Bill's enemy.
But his was a made-up one, but you might actually get a real one.
Gosh, I'm not bothered about it, mate. I just want to do what I'm doing for people and families. That's all I care about.
John, honestly, mate, hearing your story today and actually going into it and then hearing what you're doing now, it's been phenomenal, mate.
I love what I do now, mate, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't ever change it. Like I said before, biggest gang in our country are the police.
Right.
You ain't going to get away from them.
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
So not fuck around with the police.
Yeah. And look, crime doesn't pay.
There you go.
Let me tell you, because I'll tell you now, here's a funny one. Watch how many people Terry has on here that have all been to jail most of their lives, and they'll tell you crime doesn't pay.
Yeah, nobody said it's paid yet.
No, it doesn't. It's a short-term thing unless you're really successful at it and you get away from it.
Right.
But when you're living in England, mate, and once they nick you, the police and the customs and everyone else, all they're interested about is taking all your assets. And, I see Liverpool now. I see people getting busted. And then in the local paper, the Echo, they've took all the assets. They're taking baby clothes, Moncler and stuff like that. They're absolutely stripping Gucci shoes, all of this. And all this stuff you've bought, watches, everything, just take it away. If you go and get yourself a job and progress in your job and get yourself higher over the years, you can all have what you want. I've got a nice car. I've got
keep your Moncler baby stuff.
No, but I'm saying, but you can go and buy all that and buy it legitimate. Whereas in them worlds, when the police come through your door, you see what happens. They just take everything on you.
Brilliant.
Look at me. They've stripped me twice, and I met a judge. He got in touch with me. He said, "I'm really interested in what you've been doing." And bearing in mind, Terry, I've been to court with people and walked them out of court. And he said, I'm really interested in what you're doing. You're doing a brilliant job. I'm hearing a lot about you. So he come in and met me. Ian, his name was. And I go for breakfast with him and his wife now. His wife was Margaret. She's a really big judge in the country. And I have breakfast with them in sort of Cheshire, by where you were saying before. and they're really lovely people. But the first day he met me, he come to me, he went, John, look, he went, my friend was the one who gave you the sentence. Is that a problem? I went, no, not at all. I said, but when you see him,
tell him
I said to him, tell him he was a bit harsh.
Right.
I said, but tell him thanks as well. He went, thanks. I went, yeah, because it was him who gave me that sentence that made me change. Yeah. I went, so what I'm doing today is part of what Bryn Holloway give me. You know what I mean? So there you go. You go from so this has got to be called Rattle, release on temporary license.
There you go.
Rattle, release on temporary license.
Release on temporary license.
Yeah, bish bosh wallet too large in a pack of fucking crips, mate. All right.
But John, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Teddy.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Criminal Connection podcast. John Burton, what an amazing guest. Just goes to show you can go from the wrong side of the tracks to the right side of the tracks and you can help people. Make sure you check out his app. We're going to put a link down below so you can click on it. And if you've got somebody who's obviously in prison or looking to change their lives when they're coming out of prison, John can probably hook you up with a job. Make sure you tune in next week. We've got another amazing guest. And make sure you make sure you comment, and make you subscribe on our YouTube channel because it's zero costs and you'll be up to date with everything that we're doing. And we will see you on the other side.